that Li Shimin cherished old friendships, while on the other, he might fear that Cheng Yaojin and Cheng Chumo would conspire together. The day of rebellion had already revealed Cheng Yaojin's strength to the world. There was no need for assembly. Over 30,000 followed him of their own accord. "I'm going to sleep for a bit. I'm tired," he stated, feeling mentally exhausted. "Father, if you wish to go, then go. What is truly worth cherishing in life? It is merely emotions. Do not wait until Li Shimin has passed to regret it. Burning paper at his grave serves no purpose. Treating him to a meal while he is alive is far better than burning a mountain of paper after his death," Cheng Chumo remarked, possessing great insight on such matters. Cheng Yaojin was taken aback. "Ha ha ha, Dallin understands life better than I do." He chuckled heartily before departing to converse with an old friend, leaving Wu Meinyang and Cheng Chumo alone in the room. Wu Meinyang lowered her head, pouting. "You're deceiving me," she accused. Cheng Chumo remained silent, recognizing that the unpredictability of life was not a matter of deceit. "The timing favors Li Tai," she continued. "You once promised I would become empress. Why did you stage a night raid on the imperial city? I will not relent. You are my brother-in-law, and you must fulfill your promise. Li Ji must ascend to the throne. You have the leaves of the Tianshan Snow Lotus with you. I know you do. Do you truly believe that after consuming the Tianshan Snow Lotus, Li Shimin can survive? If he had not been provoked by Li Tai, perhaps he might have lived. Now, with the poison consuming him, his chances are grim," Cheng Chumo responded. "Li Shimin's coughing of black blood has confirmed everything. Even if he survives, he will be bedridden. Is there any meaning in that? With the court stable, can Li Shimin reclaim power? It is utterly meaningless." Cheng Chumo did not regard Li Tai as inferior to Li Ji. On the contrary, he held Li Tai in high esteem despite disliking his demeanor. Yet, one could not deny that Li Tai possessed cunning. The 7 great families were at odds over a single position. This was merely the beginning. Li Daozong would side with the Helan family, so would Zhang Shigui. Li Daozong, being a prince, held significant status and had good relations within the royal family. During Li Shimin's reign, the royal relatives had little presence. Those relatives he deemed expendable were executed without a hint of mercy. Given the current opportunity, would the royal relatives aid Li Shimin in regaining his standing? Certainly not. A solitary figure is just that, a solitary figure. And this is the price of standing at the pinnacle. The conflict between the royal family and the noble houses was the outcome Li Tai desired, and indeed, it was the best outcome. Only in this manner could the regime stabilize, in contrast to Li Shimin's relentless suppression of the noble families. The downfall of the noble families would benefit neither the Tang dynasty nor its citizens. The presence of noble officials serves as a check against the oppression of the common people by other officials, for they could face impeachment and threats from political adversaries at any moment. Without the noble families, officials could ascend unchecked. Li Tai must not be allowed to become a tyrant. Li Shimin's survival held no advantage for Cheng Chumo, thus he would not save him. Wu Meinyang, filled with reluctance, wept sorrowfully. Clinging to Cheng Chumo's arm, she pleaded, "Brother-in-law, please help me. One to you?" Cheng Chumo gently tousled Wu Meinyang's hair. "As long as you can achieve your goals, I will assist you," he replied. This posed a challenge presented to Cheng Chumo by Li Shimin. He was working on creating a generator and light bulbs, yet he encountered a bottleneck. The principles of a generator are simple, yet actual implementation proves to be quite challenging. A slight miscalculation can lead to significant failures. Technological advancement relies heavily on meticulous details. A cannon may not demand precision, but a generator cannot afford even the slightest error. It simply will not function. There is no possibility of overtaking through shortcuts. Development requires accumulation and continual improvement. This is the correct path of science. Do not be swayed by the notion that science knows no borders. Those who utter such words are traitors. Being backward invites conflict. How can one forget history after merely a few days of full bellies? Truth be told, Cheng Chumo felt incapable of achieving such feats. Wu Meinyang gazed at him blankly, wiping away her tears. "This is far too difficult. I might as well sleep with you to expedite matters." Upon reaching this thought, Wu Meinyang began to act coyly. Cheng Chumo, taken aback, responded, "Could you please behave yourself? This is your only chance. Do not resort to those sacrificial antics. I prefer clear-cut arrangements, and I assure you, I will not acknowledge any debts. You may test this if you doubt me." Wu Meinyang, realizing her plan had failed, shot Cheng Chumo a fierce glare. "I will do it," she declared. As Cheng Chumo had indicated, this was her sole opportunity. Without saving Li Shimin, Li Ji would have no chance of becoming emperor. Cheng Chumo rose. "Then you must put forth your utmost effort," he advised. He did not believe Wu Meinyang could accomplish this, even if she somehow managed it. It would take years. By then, Li Shimin would have long since passed. Wu Meinyang understood Cheng Chumo's implication. He intended to prolong Li Shimin's life. Yet, she was unwilling to concede or give up. "I will head to Fufeng County, and I intend to utilize all your resources," she declared, her eyes brimming with wisdom. Wu Meinyang had reviewed the memorials that Li Shimin had investigated regarding Cheng Chumo and was fully aware of his undertakings. She also knew that Princess Gao Yang was researching generators. In her mind, she envisioned plucking the ripe fruit. Cheng Chumo nearly laughed. Wu Meinyang seemed unaware of her own limitations. "There is no need to go to Fufeng County. You can accomplish everything at the temple in Chang'an," Cheng Chumo suggested. "Temples have wealth. Scientific research is an expensive endeavor. The legitimate businesses in Fufeng County are insufficient. One must rely on the monks. Blessings yield quick returns. Wu Mingyang agreed. The location mattered little as long as she could obtain the Tianshan Snow Lotus. Girdle. Wu Mingyang's cheeks flushed as she realized she was genuinely hungry after a day without food. Cheng Chumo instructed the servants to prepare a meal. Old Mo arrived at Cheng's residence, directly guided by a servant to meet Cheng Chumo. Master, Old Mo greeted, his demeanor somewhat uneasy. Li Huan had not accompanied Old Mo back to the village. On that day, only Li Huan was seen, as the troops of Jingzhou Prefecture did not grant them the opportunity for private discourse. After a brief encounter, Li Huan was taken away. Cheng Chumo inquired about the situation, and Lao Mo relayed the details to him. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. Li Tai, do you think you are worthy to play these games with me? Those who dare to touch my people shall face the consequences, he said coldly. Indeed, who doesn't know that Lao Mo is the subordinate of my brother-in-law? He is merely seeking trouble, Wu Mingyang remarked, wishing fervently for a bloody showdown between Li Tai and Cheng Chumo. Chapter 218. The bloodshed provoked by Li Huan. Wu Mingyang, adding fuel to the fire, felt her mood brighten. Li Tai is courting death by daring to provoke Cheng Chumo. Does he believe he can manipulate Li Huan? Is he oblivious to Lao Mo's standing in Cheng Chumo's eyes? Li Tai truly does not understand that his attempts to control Li Huan stem from envy, fueled by the significant profits generated from the glazed pottery produced in Li Lizzie's territory. Li Tai believes Li Huan must know the origins of that pottery. Lao Mo need not worry. If someone desires death, I shall oblige, Cheng Chumo reassured him. Lao Mo nodded in agreement. In the East Palace, Li Tai was inspecting his territory, unable to satiate his curiosity. What if the Crown Prince Li Huan still refuses to divulge anything? He pondered aloud. He Lan Anwu frowned, stating, if you cannot extract information, then let it be. Li Huan is under Cheng Chumo's protection. Do not risk greater losses over trivial matters. Indeed, Li Tai replied. The glazed pottery is immensely valuable. The profits over 6 months could amount to tens of millions. If this trade is connected to the East Palace. Helan Anwu continued. He did not believe Li Tai could remain unmoved. The Helan family held a deep-seated grudge against Cheng Chumo and would seize any opportunity to undermine him. He was acutely aware that this lucrative trade was orchestrated by Cheng Chumo and that even if they could not seize it, they could not allow him to profit so comfortably. Li Tai was indeed tempted. As the crown prince, he required substantial funds to garner support and rewards. With a lucrative pottery trade, he would no longer need to fret over finances. His initial plan was to invest in Fufeng County, but he was met with outright rejection from the aristocracy, even when he offered generous terms. The reason was simple. Fufeng County was not only of utmost importance to Cheng Chumo, but also to the aristocracy. If Li Tai were to learn of the annual profits from Fufeng County, it would surely shock him. Otherwise, the aristocracy would not risk their reputation by undermining Cheng Chumo for such vast sums. I shall seek Cheng Chumo to discuss matters, Li Tai declared. He did not wish to offend Cheng Chumo over a trivial woman. Such minor affairs need not trouble your highness. I can handle them, Helan Anwu suggested. Li Tai nodded in agreement. Helan Anwu departed from the East Palace, his expression instantly turning icy. Bring forth a banquet at Dongfeng Tower, he commanded. A day later, an invitation arrived in Cheng Chumo's hands, requesting his presence at a feast at Dongfeng Tower in Li Tai's name. Cheng Chumo chuckled, glancing at Cui Wensheng, whose face wore an expression of discontent. Dongfeng Tower, the place where I invited Cheng Chumo to dine, where he was severely beaten, and to this day, I still fear sitting beneath that tree. Li Tai must have ulterior motives. This is a trap, Cui Wensheng remarked. Brother-in-law, you cannot attend. How could Li Tai have the leisure to invite you to a banquet at this time? If there is to be a banquet, it should be in the East Palace. Not at Dongfeng Tower, Wu Mingyang interjected, examining the blueprints with a perplexed expression, feeling overwhelmed by the complexity. Why not go? If I do not attend, how can I fabricate an alibi? Cheng Chumo replied. Let the uninvited come to Don Temple. Cheng Chumo picked up a piece of paper and continued to sketch, uncertain of what he was drawing, but it was something related to a generator. That night, Cheng Chumo completed his final stroke. The uninvited guest entered the cave with a look of discontent. Brother, why did you call me here? I am still hungry, he lamented. Brother, really? There were so many delicious dishes, and I had yet to eat. Cheng Chumo rose and patted his shoulder. Do not worry, we are not lacking in food, he reassured. The guest nodded heavily, trusting that his brother would not deceive him. I need you to attend the banquet. During the meal, you must test for poison. Are you willing to go? Cheng Chumo queried. The guest's eyes lit up. A banquet? That is just eating. I shall go, he declared, looking around warily as if fearing someone might snatch his chance. Cheng Chumo turned to the maid. Yenner, you will make the trip. I will ensure special forces protect you discreetly. The maid nodded, knowing she was the only one capable of keeping an eye on the guest, without mercy whatsoever. The guest shivered slightly, grinning foolishly at the maid. Sister Yen, I am merely here to eat. Please do not hit me. Truly, you can eat first, he pleaded, revealing his unfortunate plight at her hands. The maid shot him a stern look, though she was not genuinely mistreating him. The guest donned the attire of a county prince and followed the maid out. Cheng Chumo arrived at another cave. Master, it is time for the Fufeng Three Heroes to punish the wicked and uphold justice. He bowed respectfully. Long Gui nodded in agreement. Sun Xingyao, however, wore an unwilling expression. grumbling, "Isn't this just wasting time? I refuse to go. If you do not attend, there will be no funding for you," Long Gui replied. Sun Simiao's expression soured. Producing medicine was akin to burning money, and without funding, he could accomplish nothing. "Fine, I shall go. But do not think you can command me just because you are a few years older. I am only doing this for the sake of the funding," Sun Simiao retorted, his displeasure evident, realizing he was at the mercy of his wealthy disciple. Long Gui strode out with a smug demeanor, hands clasped behind his back. At Dongfeng Tower, the guest entered and found a seat. "Damn it, where's the food? Am I here for a banquet or not? Are these idiots?" He cursed loudly, stealing glances at the maid. The maid wore a smile and nodded subtly. The guest's heart raced with excitement. This was the right course of action. He became increasingly brazen in his complaints. Helan Anwu entered, scrutinizing the guest and confirming his identity as Cheng Chumo. He admired Cheng Chumo's courage. Knowing it was a trap, he still dared to attend. Annoyed by Helan Anwu's gaze, the guest suddenly snatched a document from the table and hurled it at him. Helan Anwu's attendant hastily blocked it, only to be knocked back and cough up blood. Helan Anwu's heart raced, shocked by the guest's strength. "If you kill him, I will not hold you accountable for a month," the maid's voice echoed. The guest's eyes turned crimson at the prospect of unrestricted freedom for a month. He rose and approached Helan Anwu, who recoiled in terror, shouting, "Bring help, quickly." Soldiers concealed along the streets surged forth, but before they could act, arrows rained down from above. Special forces began to descend from hot air balloons. Once on the ground, the slaughter commenced. Inside the tavern, the maid stood up. "You dare to host a banquet for me? Do you seek death?" Helan Anwu exclaimed, filled with terror and fury, as his subordinates rushed towards the insatiable guest. Helan Anwu lunged at his concubine, believing that capturing Cheng Chumo's woman would force him to tread carefully. Just as he made a few strides, he froze in place, collapsing onto the ground in agony. A dart had struck his legs. The concubine toyed with a swallow-shaped dart, smirking, "Ah, my dear husband is truly clever. Someone indeed wishes to use me to coerce you." Her eyes sparkled with admiration. Helan Anwu could never have imagined that the most perilous individual within the tavern was not the insatiable guest, but rather the seemingly harmless and cute concubine. She was the true embodiment of ruthlessness. Having dealt with his underlings, the insatiable guest turned his attention to Helan Anwu, shivering in fear. "Sister Yin is too merciless," he thought, unable to meet the concubine's gaze. "This was my doing. Your month-long leave is now void," she said with a scoff. Helan Anwu, with a face full of despair, lamented, "It's all that fool's fault. Why did you charge at Sister Yin?" He shot a fierce glare at Helan Anwu. "Please, spare me. Do not kill me." Helan Anwu cried out in terror. Chapter 219. The death of Helan Ungshi curse you. The insatiable guest, irritated by the noise, crushed Helan Anwu beneath his foot and kicked him several times before eagerly following the concubine as she ascended into the air. Helan Anwu was left dumbfounded. "What am I to do?" he shouted. "You can't just leave me behind. Go to the East Palace and cause some trouble. If you do well, I'll grant you a month's leave," the concubine commanded before her voice faded away with the balloon's ascent. Helan Anwu gazed at the squad of elite soldiers, feeling a twinge of fear as he forced a smile that was more grotesque than a frown. "Where is the East Palace?" he inquired. The elite soldiers, exuding an intimidating aura, pointed in a direction. Helan Anwu led them to the gates of the East Palace but did not enter. Instead, they wandered aimlessly until they reached a corner of the Furong Garden. Furong Garden was a private estate belonging to Li Tai, bestowed upon him by Li Shimin. While a portion lay within the city, the majority was outside its walls, with water flowing from the pool down to Chang'an. Helan Anwu puffed out his chest, realizing this was his escape route. He was not foolish. Had he been, he would have been captured long ago in the 8th Plate Mountain. Once again, he led the elite soldiers back to the East Palace. The eyes of Chang'an's nobility were drawn to him, mistaking him for Cheng Chumo. News soon arrived that Helan Anwu had been slain by Cheng Chumo, who now marched towards the East Palace. Panic ensued among his clan members, their faces etched with anxiety. The clan leader's expression darkened. Helan Anwu was a principal member of their family. How dare he host such a banquet? Thinking he was in Yongzhou. "Calm down." A sharp voice resonated. Helan Ungshi, hands behind his back, emerged from a room, a smile gracing his face, devoid of any facial hair. He casually groomed his hair at the shoulders, his eyes glimmering with a hint of madness. A young man accompanied him, and their presence together hinted at unspeakable deeds. "Send word to the crown prince. Cheng Chumo's killings are beneficial. Let him slay more," Helan Ungshi remarked ominously. The clan leader dared not voice his anger, fully aware of the chaos Helan Ungshi had wrought within their faction. With a thunderous crash, the doors burst open, and Cheng Chumo strode into the Helan residence. Helan Ungshi gaped at Cheng Chumo, as if he had seen a ghost. "Why you?" he stammered, unable to form coherent words. While he was unafraid when Cheng Chumo was absent, the moment he appeared, Helan Ungshi lost his composure, wishing to flee. Cheng Chumo assessed Helan Ungshi, feeling a sense of revulsion. "Isn't this attire purely perverse?" he thought. "Master, please take action. I find him distasteful," Cheng Chumo said. Long Gui's face darkened. What kind of disciple was this, demanding his master to act? He glanced at Sun Simiao beside him. "You go," Long Gui ordered. Sun Simiao's eyes widened in disbelief. Fixating on Long Gui, He had encountered shameless individuals before, but never had he seen such unabashedness in a master and disciple. I refuse to go, Sun Simiao shouted angrily. Long Gui scoffed, as if Sun Simiao had yet to grasp the situation. If you refuse, you'll never see a single coin again. Good luck begging for alms to fund your research, Long Gui warned. Cheng Chumo nodded in agreement. Sun Simiao's face turned a shade of dark purple. Fine, fine, fine. You two have some guts. Just wait until I have my chance. He gritted through clenched teeth, stepping forward, ready to act. You shall perish, Sun Simiao bellowed. Intent on unleashing his frustration here. The clan leader stepped forward, desperation etched on his face. Wait. We are willing to sever ties with the Heelan family. Please spare us. Sun Simiao observed the expressions of those around him, noting that few understood the gravity of the situation, their hearts harboring resentment. He shook his head. In your next life, choose a different surname. I have no fondness for the name Heelan, Sun Simiao declared coldly. A gentle breeze swept through, and members of the Heelan family fell silently. One by one, wherever Sun Simiao went, individuals collapsed without a sound. Long Gui flicked a coin, while Cheng Chumo wandered about. He approached a room where a glimmer of light beckoned, and pushed the door open. A woman was tethered by a rope around her neck, the other end secured to the ceiling. She stood with her eyes closed, her body marred by the cruel marks of a whip. Some were fresh, while others were old. Upon opening her eyes, a terrifying gaze met Cheng Chumo's. Upon realizing he was not Heelan Ungshi, the woman closed her eyes again. Who are you? Cheng Chumo asked. Intrigued by her identity, she had clearly endured great torment at the hands of the Heelan family, suggesting she was a person of virtue. Approaching her, he sought to untie the rope, only to find it was a dead knot. Drawing a dagger, he severed the rope, and the woman crumpled to the ground. Gasping for breath, the rope had been tied tightly. It was hard to imagine how she had survived. Once her breathing stabilized, Cheng Chumo inquired, Can you tell me who you are? The woman did not respond, gazing at Cheng Chumo with gratitude. She wished to cry, yet no tears came. If you help me kill Heelan Ungshi, I shall serve you faithfully, she rasped, her voice hoarse and unpleasant. Cheng Chumo supported one of her arms as she attempted to take a few steps, but fell again. He then hoisted her up and carried her to the front courtyard, where Heelan Ungshi stood, dazed, surrounded by his clan members. To be frank, Sun Simiao was also reluctant to kill him. It was distasteful. Upon seeing Heelan Ungshi, the woman's eyes turned blood red. Cheng Chumo set her down, and she seemed to summon unexpected strength, lunging at Heelan Ungshi and sinking her teeth into his neck. Heelan Ungshi screamed in agony, grasping at her hair in an attempt to pull her away. Long Gui's fury ignited, fighting while pulling hair lacked on her. With a swift motion, he flung the copper coins away. Heelan Ungshi, drained of strength, gazed in terror and shouted until silenced by the fatal bite of a woman. The woman, collapsing to the ground, wept inconsolably. Father, I have avenged you, she cried out. Sun Simiao concluded the scene. A hot air balloon hovered above the Heelan residence, slowly descending. Cheng Chumo and others boarded the balloon and ascended into the sky, casting down jars of flammable oil and a torch, igniting the Heelan household. The balloon drifted away as onlookers stood at their doorsteps, pointing and whispering, yet none dared to extinguish the flames. The patrolling soldiers merely shook their heads, powerless against the inferno. This was retribution. On the day of chaos in Chang'an, the Heelan family had seized the opportunity to commit arson, and everyone knew it was their doing. It was infuriating to see the Heelan family members prosper as a result of their crimes. The common folk had never heard of such audacity, arson leading to promotion. In the Eastern Palace, Li Tai bore a grim expression. Cheng Chumo stood before the palace gates, unleashing a torrent of curses upon Li Tai's ancestors, ensuring not a single one was overlooked. Let us depart, a special forces soldier suggested. The Heelan residence ablaze marked the completion of their mission. With a satisfied nod, they departed, feeling exhilarated despite not having harmed anyone. Cheng Chumo's vitriolic tirade was a satisfying substitute, warranting at least a 3-day respite. At Dawn Temple, Cheng Chumo inquired, What is your name? The young woman, having cleaned herself, revealed her delicate features. Ho Xiaomei, she replied. Chapter 220. To Jiangnan, Ho Xiaomei, daughter of Ho Junji and wife of Heelan Ungshi, found herself in a predicament. Heelan Ungshi had betrayed Ho Junji, reporting him to Li Shimin, leading to the uprising of Li Chengqian, which ultimately saved Ungshi while placing the blame squarely on Junji's shoulders. Xiaomei harbored no hatred for Li Chengqian or Li Shimin. Her animosity was directed solely at Heelan Ungshi, the man who had forsaken her father. Although Ungshi was a eunuch, Ho Junji had still arranged for their marriage. The officials were devoid of humanity, treating the common people as mere commodities, their greed having become second nature. Tales circulated of a certain official whose daughter bore him a son. Ah, it is you. I never expected you to still be alive. You ought to thank me. I am the one who rendered Heelan Ungshi a eunuch, Cheng Chumo stated. Long Gui and the others turned their heads away in disdain, for knowing Cheng Chumo was a humiliation. Xiaomei's expression fluctuated between red and black, unsure of how to express her gratitude towards Cheng Chumo. The young maid from Gansu will be quite grateful to you, he added, rising to escort her to Li Lizzie's estate, noting the cave was too small for them both. No, this won't do, Wu Mingyang interjected. She lacks kin. It would be perfect for her to collaborate with me. Cheng Chumo was indifferent, though his concubine pouted, displeased. As the cave belonged to them, he gently patted her hand, and they departed. Upon encountering the abbot, Cheng Chumo noted the man had grown even more portly. The abbot greeted him with great warmth. "Junior brother, we are short on glass. You must think of a solution," he implored. Cheng Chumo shook his head. "I'm afraid I cannot. The Fufeng County is raising prices, making it difficult for me." Financial strain beset Cheng Chumo. Sun Simiao's medical advancements required funds. Wu Mingyang's generator research needed financing, and Danyang's project demanded vast amounts of copper. "By how much will the prices rise?" the abbot asked, suspicion clouding his expression. Cheng Chumo chuckled inwardly at the abbot's avarice, contemplating how to exploit it further. 30%, he replied. The abbot's eyes widened in shock, but he clenched his teeth and nodded in agreement. "All right, aside from glass, what else can you procure?" To mitigate losses, the abbot resolved to expand his business. Cheng Chumo, inspired, thought it was time to promote glass windows, revealing, Fufeng County indeed possesses a batch of exquisite glass that could replace paper windows. Though it is costly, 10,000 coins per piece. Xiaomei stared at him in disbelief. 10,000 coins? Those glass pieces are everywhere, yet you ask for such a price? Her eyes sparkled with delight at the thought of new garments. The abbot, unsure of the glass's value, ultimately trusted Cheng Chumo, realizing that should his claims be true, it would lead to great fortune. "May I see it first?" he inquired. "Certainly, I shall arrange it," Cheng Chumo assured him. The abbot rejoiced, "Rest assured. I will not let you suffer losses. Your associates are in need of funds. Let them use as they please. I may not have many talents, but I am wealthy." Cheng Chumo expressed heartfelt gratitude. "You are a good man, brother. I will ensure you become the most revered monk in the Tang dynasty." His sincerity was apparent. He intended to develop a network to expedite wealth accumulation. The abbot, moved, prepared to leverage his connections. "If I could truly become a high monk, I would heed your every word." He understood that only through sacrifice could one attain salvation. "Who will enter hell if I do not?" "Amitabha," the abbot said. Palms pressed together again. Xiaomei could not contain her laughter. It was all quite amusing. Cheng Chumo, maintaining a serious demeanor, assured, "Do not worry. I will take care of it." He then departed with Xiaomei, purchasing an abundance of clothing. "Why so many garments?" she asked, puzzled. "For our journey," he replied. She said no more, cradling the clothes with a beaming smile. The next morning, during the court assembly, Li Tai's expression darkened as Cheng Chumo entered the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. "Return Li Huan to me, and I demand the position of Grand General for the Jiangnan campaign," he stated boldly. Li Tai, suppressing his fury, found the ministers helpless during Li Shimin's reign. Cheng Chumo had been audacious, yet never this brazen. Now he sought a grand title. After careful consideration, Li Tai concluded that he could not grant the title of Grand General. He bowed to Cheng Chumo, for an emperor cannot lower his head. Once lowered, it can never be raised again. Nonsense. Though you have accomplished much, you must not let your talents lead to arrogance. The position of Grand General of the army is untenable, and the post of military governor of Jiangnan is vacant. Go and assume that role. Moreover, the Grand General of Jiangnan is the maternal uncle of the Empress. I cannot allow her to rest uneasily in the afterlife. Li Tai spoke. Cheng Chumo cast a profound glance at Li Tai, secretly admiring him. At this moment, mentioning Empress Changsun was perfectly timed, achieving both a show of strength and a restoration of face. Cheng Chumo bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Highness. Ha ha ha, we are kin. I hope your tenure in Jiangnan will lead to its economic flourishing." Li Tai laughed heartily. Cheng Chumo's bow was not easily given, and the ministers regarded Li Tai with newfound respect. Such a maneuver was admirable. As Cheng Chumo departed the grand hall, Li Tai turned to the officials of noble families. "Can we ascertain who was responsible for the massacre yesterday?" Li Tai inquired. He knew it was Cheng Chumo, and so did the ministers, yet there was no evidence. When he was at the Li family, Cheng Chumo had played a clever game of feigned transparency, and today was no different. They had begun to suspect there were two Cheng Chumos, but could not confirm it. "Natural disaster," one noble official suggested. Li Tai sighed inwardly. It seemed the Heelan family could not be saved. He cursed the deceased Heelan Anwu for his foolishness. "Did you truly believe you could trap Cheng Chumo at a banquet? If Li Shimin had wished to do so, he would have acted long ago. Your arrogance has led to the complete annihilation of the Chang'an branch." After the court session, Li Tai promptly sent someone to escort Li Huan to the estate of Li Lizzie. At this time, Li Huan was showing a pronounced pregnancy. Lao Amo circled around her. "Am I to have a child?" Lao Amo asked, somewhat incredulously. Li Huan beamed, caressing her belly. A luxurious carriage approached. Xiazhu dismounted. "Congratulations, Sister Li Huan. This carriage is a gift for you. It's the latest model," Xiazhu said with a bright smile. Time had left no trace on Xiazhu's face, but her demeanor had matured beyond the playful girl of yore. Li Huan nodded, refraining from discussing matters of children, for women can be jealous, even among close friends. Xiazhu, still single, did not wish to provoke her. "I will accompany the master to Jiangnan. Here, son, he will take over. The master has instructed you to rest, and you may stay at the villa in Fufeng County. The conditions are excellent," Xiazhu added, presenting a key to Li Huan. Lao Mo's eyes glistened with emotion. The master was not merely speaking, he had provided a key. Lao Mo understood Cheng Chumo's intent. The village was no longer safe, and there was concern that those with ill intentions might use Li Huan against him. The villa was the safest place. No one would dare to stir trouble in Fufeng County. Chapter 221. Flames of war erupt after parting from her estate. Xia Zhu went to the temple to meet Qing Chimo. After many years, she longed to rush into his embrace, but restrained herself, remembering her status. Greetings, master. Xia Zhu said. The concubine pouted, her eyes filled with jealousy. She felt invisible in Qing Chimo's presence. She attempted to interject, but Cui Wensheng cleared his throat softly. And the concubine looked at him in confusion. Theoretically, she was Cui Wensheng's stepmother, and their relationship was close. Mind your words. Xia Zhu has followed Brother Cheng for over a decade. There is nothing regarding Qing Chimo that she does not know, Cui Wensheng whispered. Some matters should remain unspoken. He did not wish for the concubine to vie for favor beside Qing Chimo. It was a futile endeavor. She must recognize her own position. The concubine quickly changed her demeanor, fully aware of her identity. Xia Zhu had accompanied the master for over 10 years, even if they were not married. Their bond surpassed that of spouses. It was certainly more complicated than it appeared. Master, you appear stronger. But what of that scar by your eye? Xia Zhu remarked. The concubine was startled, realizing just how perceptive Xia Zhu was. She truly understood the master well. The scar by Qing Chimo's eye was difficult to notice unless one looked closely. Truly, you are my mirror, more observant than I am. How have you fared these past 2 years? Qing Chimo smiled. Xia Zhu nodded gently. The two fell into silence, as they understood each other too well to need words. Seizing the opportunity, the concubine approached and embraced Xia Zhu's arm. Sister Xia Zhu, I am Yanzi, she said sweetly. Cui Wensheng silently admired her boldness. You may simply call me Xia Zhu, madam, she replied, casting a furtive glance at Qing Chimo's reaction, which was neutral. It was proper for her to be addressed as sister. Some claim that the male figures of the Tang dynasty are lecherous. However, it is not merely the men, but the entire Tang era, as the narratives of women occupy half the tales. Wu Zetian, Yang Guifei. For years, the Tang dynasty warred with the Turks, each influencing the other. Under the Turkic succession system, women were inherited by their sons. The Tang was similarly affected, with Li Shimin marrying Empress Xiao, and Li Ji taking the sister of Wu Meinyang as his consort. Such chaos was not unusual in that time. This was not confined to the royal family. Even common folk acted similarly. It is human nature. All right, everyone, prepare yourselves. We depart for Jiangnan tomorrow, Qing Chimo commanded. A family servant presented a letter from the palace. Cui Wensheng opened it, his expression shifting dramatically. There has been an incident. The Western Turks have invaded Shizhou, Cui Wensheng announced. Qing Chimo's demeanor turned frigid. The Western Turks were courting death. He understood why they dared to invade Shizhou. They must have received news of Li Shimin's grave illness. This action was a test of strength. It appeared that matters in Jiangnan would be delayed. Qing Chimo reflected. Was the Helan family truly so fortunate? He sighed, feeling helpless. Brother Cheng, why must you go to Jiangnan? The Grand General of the Jiangnan army is Gao Shilian. If you inform him of certain matters, how do you think he will respond? Do not underestimate his ruthlessness. Despite his age, Cui Wensheng advised. Qing Chimo suddenly felt enlightened. Indeed. If the Helan family sought to kidnap Empress Changsun, what would Gao Shilian do upon learning of it? No family in Jiangnan dared to defy Gao Shilian. It would be simple for him to eliminate the Helan family. He might not even need to take action himself. Gao Shilian was the local power in Jiangnan. Qing Chimo would require considerable effort to deal with the Helan family, while Gao Shilian would need only a word. Countless individuals would vie for his favor. Qing Chimo immediately penned a letter. The Helan family has repeatedly attempted to assassinate your niece, putting her in peril and even forcing her to attempt suicide. Fortunately, I arrived in time. In retrospect, I still feel a chill. The Guanyin maid has no parents. As the saying goes, a mother's brother is paramount. I, Qing Chimo, am powerless against the Helan family in Jiangnan. Alas, I must inform the Grand General of this matter. He must not overthink it. The Helan family's power is beyond what you can contend with. Abandon this pursuit. Your niece will not blame you for your inability. Consider her as if she were simply a maidservant. Qing Chimo finished writing and dried the ink. Cui Wensheng's lips twitched, feeling sympathy for Gao Shilian. He was certain that upon receiving the letter, Gao Shilian would ensure the Helan family members suffered greatly. There was no way to provoke the old man. Deliver this. Qing Chimo instructed, handing the letter to Cui Wensheng. Cui Wensheng took the letter with a serious expression, filled with excitement. I, Cui Wensheng, shall not fail in my duty. Do not underestimate the task of delivering messages. It is not a job for the average person. It requires the trust of Qing Chimo. Among the heirs of noble families, only Cui Wensheng enjoys this privilege. Qing Chimo patted Cui Wensheng on the shoulder, expressing his confidence, stating, You surpass your father, work diligently. And should I find myself in an ill mood one day, you may just ascend to the position of family head. Cui Wensheng opened his mouth but found himself at a loss for words, realizing the truth in Qing Chimo's words. Akin to how Qing Chimo had eliminated Li Shimin and Li Tai. If Qing Chimo were to eliminate the head of the Cui family, Cui Wensheng would directly assume the role of family leader. In truth, Cui Wensheng yearned to carve out his own destiny. His gaze towards Qing Chimo brimmed with admiration. Since the day Qing Chimo had decisively bested him, Qing Chimo had become Cui Wensheng's idol. Having distanced himself from the Qing family, Qing Chimo thrived remarkably. Now even a prince, a true legend. Xia Zhu suppressed a smile. as he could discern Shui Wenqing's rebellious thoughts, a young man unwilling to remain under his father's shadow. While others were unaware of Cheng Chumo's rise, Xia Zhu was well informed. Without Empress Zhongsun, there would be no Cheng Chumo today. Without her support, he would have long been stationed at the borders. Without her guidance, he would have struggled to establish himself in the political arena. It is not an exaggeration to say that whoever possesses Empress Zhongsun possesses the world. In the Eastern Palace, Li Tai's expression was grim. The consequences of Li Shimin's abdication were beginning to manifest. The small states at the borders had ceased their tributes, and the Tiela tribe had outright rebelled, no longer heeding the Tang dynasty's commands. The Western Turks invaded Xiazhu, demanding territorial concessions. The Yuji kingdom dispatched troops to Changbai Mountain, driving out the Tang populace. Goguryeo was reigniting its ambitions, capturing Wanda Mountain City. Tubo demanded that the Tang send Princess Wenqing for marriage, insisting that the Tang forces withdraw from Ryu City, also known as Nishio City. The borders of the Tang were ablaze with unrest. However, this was not a dire concern. The Tang boasted countless martial generals capable of managing the situation. Yet, Li Tai found himself unable to mobilize troops from various regions. Li Jing had fallen ill and returned home. Cheng Yaojin had resigned from his post. Li Shaogong was in Luoyang, and Li Tai dared not summon him back. Li Ji claimed illness as well. Shui Ringgui held his position in Liaodong, refusing to be moved. Chibi Helu guarded the imperial tomb, waiting for Li Shimin's death to inter him. Yuchi Jingda remained stationed at Ganlu Palace. Li Tai now found himself in a precarious position. Your Highness, the flames of war are rising. If you cannot resolve this matter, your position as crown prince may be in jeopardy, remarked a close aide. Li Tai's gaze turned icy. Those old generals were indeed courting death, yet Li Tai felt powerless. Summon Cheng Chumo to the Eastern Palace, he ordered. In this moment, only Cheng Chumo had the potential to assist him. The intervention of a divine general should quell the unrest at the borders, though the concern remained that Cheng Chumo might find himself overwhelmed by the multitude of foes. When Cheng Chumo arrived at the Eastern Palace, Li Tai eagerly stepped out to greet him. Brother-in-law, please, come inside, Li Tai said. Chapter 222. Cheng Chumo, commander of the three armies. The two entered the grand hall. After exchanging pleasantries, Li Tai pushed a memorial on the desk towards Cheng Chumo. The situation at the borders is dire, he stated. Cheng Chumo perused the document, finding it even more severe than he had anticipated. The small states at the borders were seizing the opportunity to break free from the Tang's control. This was akin to releasing a tiger back into the mountains. In the past, Li Shimin had opted for a strategy of recuperation, foregoing the complete conquest of the border states. Had the Tang resolved to eliminate them decisively back then, such calamities would not have befallen them today. The ancestors of the Tang were preoccupied with frivolities, neglecting their duties. The consequences of indecision would inevitably lead to disaster. Cheng Chumo set the memorial down. To what extent do you wish to strike? He inquired, hoping that Li Tai would grant him an edict empowering him to wage war without restraint. This was not the time for negotiations. The enemy had encroached upon their doorstep. Let us proceed with action, he declared. Li Tai was overjoyed, finally understanding why his father had deemed Cheng Chumo not an adversary of the Tang. At a critical moment, he truly stepped up, without uttering a single word of triviality. After a moment as contemplation, Li Tai asked, Brother-in-law, to where do you wish to advance? How many soldiers do you require? 100,000. To where? I have yet to decide. If you provide me with troops, I will annihilate the enemy wherever I go. The Tang requires resources, and I may even contend with the Arab Empire, Cheng Chumo replied. Li Tai's blood surged with excitement upon hearing this. He was unafraid of Cheng Chumo's capabilities. The farther he could strike, the better, for all merit would ultimately belong to the emperor. Cheng Chumo would merely gain a nominal recognition akin to Li Jing. The Tang possesses an army of 850,000 soldiers. I can mobilize 50,000. Can you lead 50,000 troops to potentially annihilate the Tiela tribe? Li Tai asked. To strike fear into the others, the Tang cannot eliminate all small states. We must first subdue one to establish dominance. The Tiela tribe is a vassal state. Their rebellion has brought disgrace upon the Tang. If we cannot even manage our own affairs, how can we intimidate other nations? Cheng Chumo articulated. Are there issues with military provisions? He inquired further. Li Tai confidently assured him that there were no problems with supplies. The Tang had enjoyed favorable weather over the past few years, leading to surplus grain. Cheng Chumo rose from his seat. Then it is settled. I will advance from Gansu, traversing through the Western Turks directly to the Tiela tribe, and I shall pay a visit to Changbai Mountain as well. I wish to see who dares to challenge us. He proclaimed assertively. Li Tai stood and bowed deeply to Cheng Chumo, feeling a surge of gratitude. Cheng Chumo's timely assistance was akin to providing coal in a snowstorm, especially during this challenging time for Li Tai, marking a significant test of his resolve. The martial generals were merely spectators, reluctant to yield to him. Only Cheng Chumo spoke with unwavering determination. To where shall we strike? This was the audacity of a legendary general. An edict was swiftly issued, promoting Cheng Chumo to commander of the three armies. Any regional governors who failed to cooperate would face execution. An auspicious date for mobilization was selected. The citizens of Chang'an rejoiced as the prolonged gloom dissipated. The legendary General S intervention would ensure that those small states daring to provoke the Tang were courting their demise. To invigorate the populace, Li Tai launched a campaign to publicize how foreign nations had oppressed the citizens of the Tang, even invoking tales from the Sui dynasty. Scholars gathered before the palace, petitioning for the annihilation of those who dared to bully the citizens of the Tang. Li Tai promptly issued a decree declaring war on all neighboring states. In the court, he declared, "I have resolved to declare war on neighboring nations. Those who offend the Tang shall be punished, regardless of distance." Li Tai found this phrase commendable, believing it perfectly suited the Tang's current predicaments. "Your Highness, this course of action is inhumane and will disrupt border harmony," a minister cautioned. Li Tai's expression darkened. He rose in outrage. "How dare they speak of harmony with the Tang? Issue my decree. We seek land, not people," he thundered. During this time, he had been stifled with frustration, facing foreign invasions without capable generals to command. Pointing at the minister, he declared, "You must be a spy for the enemy. Take him out and execute him. Present his head to General Chung for a tribute. Traitors shall face the annihilation of their clans. I shall not spare even 3 generations," Li Tai added coldly. The minister was instantly struck with terror. "Humph," Li Tai scoffed. The officials hastily bowed and paid their respects. "Your Highness is wise," they all declared in unison. Only after witnessing the gravity of the situation did they realize who Li Tai truly was and feel fear. This battle was pivotal for the nation's fate. Any office that dared to neglect their duties would be dealt with as traitors, and I would demand their entire clan's heads, Li Tai reiterated. The officials trembled at his words. Experiencing Li Tai's ruthless nature, one dared not be negligent, responding in unison. Li Tai surveyed the surroundings, a cold smile forming within. "As long as you dare to betray, I shall make you regret it." That very afternoon, the family of that official, totaling 136 souls, was slaughtered. Their heads sent to Fufeng County. Cheng Chumo had already returned to Fufeng County to reorganize the troops. Upon receiving the heads, Cheng Chumo laughed heartily. Li Tai's resolve was apparent, resonating with his temperament. He informed the crown prince that he, the county king, would not disappoint the expectations of the people. Cheng Chumo spoke to the eunuch, who bowed and departed. Cheng Chumo looked towards the Fufeng Jinbei army, deciding to select the remaining 2 armies himself. The entire force was ordered to advance towards Gansu. Cheng Chumo stated, there was no need for grandiloquent rhetoric. His sense of righteousness was sufficient. The troops set forth as Cheng Chumo began drafting orders. He commanded Li Ku and Zhang Daliang to lead troops out of Sichuan to rendezvous in Gansu. He also ordered Cheng Meng to lead the Tianyuan left guard into Gansu for the same purpose. The orders were entrusted to a messenger. Cheng Chumo donned light armor, mounted his horse, and set off. In Gansu, within a villa surrounded by crystal-clear waters, Empress Changsun set aside her embroidery frame. "Your Majesty has crossed the river and will arrive in Gansu within a month." Li Ku has already entered Gansu, and the Tianyuan left guard has reached the western borders of the Turkic tribes, reported the one-armed maid. The maid's expression softened. Her enemies had met a gruesome end. Empress Changsun sighed, aware of the events transpiring in Chang'an. Worrying was futile. She ordered the dispatch of messengers to the Li clan in Longxi, demanding 1,000,000 stones of grain from Gansu, and informed the Songzan officials that Cheng Chumo required 500,000 stones. Any shortfall would lead to his destruction. She commanded the Tibetan rebel forces to provide the same amount, under the same threat. The one-armed maid set off to fulfill these orders. Wu Song clung to Empress Changsun's arm. "Sister, why are you doing this? Didn't the court say they would be responsible for provisions?" Wu Song inquired. Empress Changsun pinched her nose gently. With food in hand, one remains unperturbed. War is a battle of attrition. Trusting others is less reliable than trusting oneself. Wu Song nodded, feeling her sister's words to be profoundly correct. In the Tibetan royal city, Songzan Kanbu threw Empress Changsun's letter to the ground. The ministers hastily picked it up. "Your Majesty, calm your anger. We cannot provoke Cheng Chumo. He currently commands 150,000 troops. If he allies with the rebels, we cannot withstand it," the ministers advised. Cheng Chumo, with his 50,000 men, could easily divide the Tibetan forces. Now that he commanded 150,000, they felt no confidence should a battle ensue. Songzan Kanbu sighed deeply. "This is too much to bear." The ministers fell silent. Cheng Chumo's bullying was not a new occurrence. Calmness was essential in such times. He was like a rabid dog. The Tang dynasty had unleashed him to bite. Whoever he sank his teeth into was doomed. "Your Majesty, please decide swiftly. The sooner we send the grain, the better. If the rebels act faster than us." The ministers left their thoughts unvoiced. After all, it was just grain. It would be better to be forthright and deliver it quickly rather than delay and risk falling behind the rebels. In the rebel stronghold, the rebel leader laughed heartily. "Cheng Chumo wants grain? Huh. Well, give him whatever he desires." He was not afraid of Cheng Chumo's requests. Rather, he feared the day when Cheng Chumo asked for nothing, for the favors he owed would prove invaluable in acquiring weapons in the future. In Longxi, Li Qingwen exclaimed, "Brother, my husband demands grain. How much do you intend to give?" Her eyes sparkled with cunning. She would not settle for less, as Cheng Chumo's wife had contributed. And she had none. How would she manage when she married into that family? Being a part of the alliance, unlike the other women who were in true love, She aimed to secure as many benefits as possible while she was still unmarried. Li Jun's lips twitched. With the head of the family absent, I have the final say. Give whatever is needed. Helping his sister was akin to helping himself. Although he was merely a minor head, he could still negotiate. As long as Chung Chumo remained, no one would dare replace him. A month later, Chung Chumo arrived in Gansu, passing through Longxi City without the intention of entering. He ordered the Fufeng Jinbei army to continue advancing. Ahead, a group of people blocked the road. Li Jun stood at the forefront with his sister. Chung Chumo dismounted. Li Jun clasped his fists. Brother-in-law, take your time. I shall prepare some food to reward the soldiers. Chung Chumo returned the gesture. Let us skip the food. There's no time for that. Just send it to Shicheng as cash. Ha ha ha. Very well. Li Jun laughed heartily. My sister wishes to go to Shicheng. Chung brother, since you are passing by, let her accompany you. With you there, I can rest easy, Li Jun added. Li Qingwen's face flushed slightly as she stole a glance at Chung Chumo before quickly lowering her head, thinking, please don't refuse, dear husband. How embarrassing. Very well, Chung Chumo agreed. After exchanging a few words, the procession continued. Upon reaching Shicheng, the entire army was ordered to rest for 3 days. Chung Chumo commanded, then entered the government office. Li Ku greeted him. Greetings, brother-in-law. Zhang Daliang knelt on one knee. I salute you, Marshal. Zhang Daliang was filled with excitement, having thought he would spend his days in peace in Sichuan, never expecting to return to the battlefield. As a military man, he was a war fanatic, and now he felt fulfilled. Rise, Chung Chumo instructed. Li Ku presented a map. Marshal, this is a map of the Western Turks. We have studied it, and proposed to split our forces into 2 to encircle them. The Turkic army will surely retreat to aid their own. This was the outcome of his and Zhang Daliang's deliberations. Chung Chumo shook his head. In invading the Tang dynasty, they shall remain here forever. Shall we grant them the opportunity to retreat? What absurdity! They shall be buried in the yellow earth, and next year, the farmers shall prosper. You lack experience in prairie warfare. The plains are vast, with no city battles to engage in. The tempo of war is swift, and regrouping requires time. The central route must be unified, splitting the Western Turks in 2, Chung Chumo asserted. The 2 men exchanged serious glances, a hint of concern on their faces. The Western Turks were formidable foes. What if they became encircled without splitting their forces? 150,000 seemed numerous, but once on the prairie, they resembled fishing boats at sea. Without dividing their forces, there would only be one supply line. If it were severed, 150,000 would become sheep awaiting slaughter. Who is responsible for the transportation of grain? Zhang Daliang inquired. The army has yet to move, yet the grain must arrive first. The officer in charge of transport cannot be a political rival, for the consequences would be dire. Chung Chumo was unaware of who the transport officer was. He needed to wait. He would not deploy until the supplies were secured. The 3 men exchanged a few brief discussions. Prepare and rest. In 3 days, the 3 armies will rendezvous. Once the grain arrives, we shall launch an offensive, Chung Chumo commanded. The 2 men complied. Chung Chumo arrived at the waterside villa 10 miles from Shicheng. Wusong had gone to the military camp, leaving only Empress Changsun behind. The one-armed maid bowed respectfully upon seeing Chung Chumo, her eyes filled with gratitude. Just as she prepared to speak, Chung Chumo silenced her with a shushing gesture and stealthily approached the villa. The Empress Changsun donned a delicate chest-length skirt, resembling a pink butterfly dancing gracefully upon the azure waters. Chung Chumo stood transfixed, observing as the Empress strolled quietly along the floating bridge, pausing intermittently. Fish leapt playfully from the water, eager to display their agility. Giggling, do you wish to leap over the dragon gate? Do your best, the Empress cheerfully encouraged. She crouched down, smoothing her skirt to avoid any mishap, watching the frolicking fish, occasionally shielding herself from the splashes. Chung Chumo, merely 100 meters away, remained utterly entranced, his gaze unwavering. The Empress playfully stirred the water with her hand, causing the fish to retreat to a safe distance. Her expression soured. Moments ago, they had been showing off, yet now they shunned her touch. Chung Chumo felt his pulse quicken. The view was captivating, akin to a mountain of cotton, swelling as if it might burst, with a deep, mysterious crevice carved out as if struck by an iron rod. At times, it quivered, as if caressed by a gentle breeze. Sensing something, the Empress raised her head, locking eyes with Chung Chumo. Her face lit up with delight, only to be followed by a startled gasp as she hurriedly covered her chest, giving Chung Chumo a sharp glare. You returned without a word, humph, she teased. Chung Chumo, with hands clasped behind his back, feigned innocence. I saw nothing, he replied, stepping closer to the Empress. Isn't it truly beautiful here? Chung Chumo remarked. The Empress remained seated, continuing to play with the water. Chung Chumo stole glances from the corner of his eye, noting her smile. You mustn't look. You should crouch down too and observe the fish, she instructed. Reluctantly, Chung Chumo complied, thinking it a pity. He gazed at the koi in the pond, unable to comprehend their allure. Observe the Li, the Empress whispered. Chung Chumo understood, asking, are we here to watch Chang'an? Do you wish to return? The Empress shook her head. Would you accompany me for a drink? She inquired, her gaze enticing. Chung Chumo, lost in admiration, nodded foolishly. The Empress summoned her maid to prepare, and soon they were presented with vibrant red wine and a selection of delicacies. They shared drink after drink. In the midst of confusion, The onlooker remains clear, the koi leaping from the pond, mistaking it for the dragon gate. Unwittingly seals their fate, the Empress remarked. Her cheeks flushed with a hint of intoxication. Is the Guanyin maid referring to Li Tai? Cheng Chumo asked, placing his cup down, anticipating the Empress's response. He knew she had much to say. Indeed, Li Tai resembles Li Shimin, yet it is merely a resemblance. He lacks the forbearance. Li Shimin had been preparing for the Xuanwu Gate incident for 3 years, while Li Tai ascended in a day. Does he truly believe Li Shimin is so easily deceived? The Empress explained. Cheng Chumo fell silent, recognizing that Li Shimin had indeed fallen to a secondary role, hindered by his health. Do not underestimate a man capable of killing his own brother or son. He will employ any means necessary to achieve his goals, the Empress warned. Are you suggesting he is motivated by the Tianshan Snow Lotus? Cheng Chumo queried. The Empress ceased speaking. This may be Li Shimin's test. Drawing out all enemies of the Li family to eliminate them in one fell swoop. If he cannot discern loyalty from treachery, let Li Tai do it. In warfare, deception is paramount. Sometimes retreating can yield unexpected advantages. Be cautious moving forward, do you understand? I have arranged provisions for you. 200,000 stones, ample for your expedition. No matter who the grain officer is, they cannot impede you. The Shadow Right Guard is here. Should any trouble arise, Long Zhan will assist you, the Empress softly advised. Cheng Chumo moved to stand behind her, and she leaned back against him, playfully shaking her head. No need to flatter. I am quite accustomed to it, she chuckled, unable to suppress her laughter. Chapter 224. Paying the public grain. Glass windows. Cheng Chumo gently pressed on the Empress's shoulder, her face radiating contentment as she closed her eyes. Her delicate lashes fluttering. Shall we return to the room? He asked. No, this place is quite lovely, she replied, her voice growing softer. The water villa was surrounded by walls, ensuring a serene atmosphere, with female guards providing security. Time passed, and a one-armed maid exited the courtyard, closing the door behind her. Cheng Chumo felt bemused. Surely she couldn't be that eager. She had yet to experience the world. Li Qingwen arrived on horseback at the entrance. Greetings, my lady. The one-armed maid bowed. Li Qingwen dismounted. No need for formalities. Is my sister inside? She inquired, presenting a jade pendant to the maid. This is for you, she added. The maid, taken aback, tried to refuse, but Li Qingwen gently pressed her hand down. Wear it. It's very lovely, she insisted. As a newcomer, Li Qingwen understood the importance of establishing rapport, gifting the maid to ensure she would provide help when needed. She reserved such gestures for the one-armed maid, a personal attendant to the Empress, elevating her status. Thank you, my lady. The maid finally accepted, genuinely appreciating the pendant, her first cherished possession. The Empress had little regard for such trifles, offering only embroidery or clothing as rewards. Li Qingwen's smile widened. Is my sister inside? She asked again. The maid hesitated, unsure how to respond. A faint sound emerged from within, causing Li Qingwen to lean closer to the door, her face flushing crimson as she quickly stood upright, momentarily at a loss for words. Your sister is quite fair, Li Qingwen remarked, attempting to ease the tension. The maid remained silent, refraining from commenting on the Empress. Li Qingwen playfully stuck out her tongue, choosing not to elaborate further. After a lengthy wait, the villa fell silent. Li Qingwen pushed the door open, finding the Empress languidly reclining in a chair, a round fan in hand. Greetings, my sister, Li Qingwen said, standing beside the Empress and taking the fan to cool her down. Did you see everything? The Empress teased, unperturbed. Li Qingwen merely nodded. The Empress noticed the young girl's shy demeanor. You should stay here from now on, she suggested. Li Qingwen's heart soared, her earlier embarrassment vanishing. This place is truly beautiful, with bamboo groves and villas. I've heard of a particularly exquisite villa in Fufeng County, surrounded by water. Summers can be difficult with the croaking of frogs. Sister, the Longshi Li family raises many cranes. Shall we ask for a few? Li Qingwen proposed. Empress Changsun expressed her satisfaction with Li Qingwen, recognizing her identity and understanding the importance of assisting her husband's family. It's quite noisy here at night. It would be wonderful to have a few cranes, the Empress remarked. Li Qingwen felt a surge of joy. The Empress's approval promised a bright future ahead. It was said that Empress Changsun was virtuous, and her words were not without merit. Li Qingwen gazed into the distance, observing Cheng Chumo gesturing from the window. Sister, what is my husband doing? She inquired. The Empress shot Cheng Chumo a disapproving glance. Pay her no mind, she admonished, her irritation inexplicable. After taking measurements, Cheng Chumo beckoned to a maid. Go inform the special troops to transport the items here, he commanded. The maid complied. Half an hour later, the special troops arrived with horse-drawn carts, beginning to unload. Cheng Chumo wielded a diamond to cut glass, asserting that without such tools, one should not undertake ceramic tasks. This diamond, about the size of a fist, was acquired from a monk who claimed it was cursed, capable of engraving 3 lifetimes and drawing in one's soul, leaving the afflicted in a state akin to a vegetative existence. The monk suggested that the best remedy was to bury it beneath a Buddha statue, where it could be quelled after a millennium. The diamond's owner, fully convinced, entrusted it to the monk, who in turn generously gifted a piece of glass in exchange, thereby enhancing his reputation as a demon dispeller. Once the glass was cut, the special troops commenced installation. The glass was not transparent. It had a slight yellow tint with some bubbles, indicative of the still developing craftsmanship. The 5-story villa was completed, and the empress stared in awe, gazing outside with her mouth agape. Unable to articulate her astonishment, Li Qingwen exhibited an expression of someone unaccustomed to such sights, tentatively reaching out to touch the glass before retracting her hand hastily. Cheng Chimo, brimming with pride, cast a sideways glance at the two women, exuding arrogance. My goodness, how much did this cost? The empress murmured. 10,000 guans each, Cheng Chimo replied, reveling in the power of knowledge. The empress's face darkened as she pinched Cheng Chimo's ear. You wasteful man, 10,000 guans for one piece. How could you spend so much? I could strangle you. She chided, though it was evident that she was quite pleased. Rest assured, these were all crafted by us. Cheng Chimo hastily clarified. The empress's mood lightened at the revelation that it was self-made, and thus less costly. Li Qingwen, taken aback, realized that these were all Cheng Chimo's creations. Could it be that the glass circulating in the market was also his handiwork? A shiver ran down her spine. Was the wealth of the Tang dynasty truly within reach? She gazed at Cheng Chimo with admiration, feeling faint and collapsing. Cheng Chimo, still clutching his ear, had no time to assist her. I acted impulsively. I regret it, Li Qingwen stammered, her face flushed with embarrassment. After exchanging a few more words, Empress Changsun led Qingwen to prepare a meal. Cheng Chimo retrieved several pieces of convex glass to begin crafting a telescope, an essential tool for warfare. With this device, scouts could double their reconnaissance range, allowing Cheng Chimo to be immediately aware of any enemy movements. He completed a single-barrel telescope and tested it, finding it satisfactory despite its imperfections. He resolved to continue crafting, knowing that practice would yield refinement. After dinner, Li Qingwen announced, I shall make a trip to Longxi and bring back a few red-crowned cranes. She fixed her gaze on Cheng Chimo, clearly implying that she wanted his company. Cheng Chimo, however, was preoccupied. Make haste and return swiftly, he instructed. Li Qingwen bit her lip and lowered her head, feeling helpless. The empress sighed, aware that Cheng Chimo was rather obstinate, not considering her feelings. You shall accompany her, the empress insisted. Li Qingwen felt a surge of gratitude. This was her first visit home since arriving here, and Cheng Chimo's absence would signify her lack of standing within his family. In noble families, reputation was paramount. In truth, she would rather not return than go alone. If Cheng Chimo did not value her, neither would his family. A married daughter is like spilled water, and her reputation depended on her husband's family. Very well, Cheng Chimo conceded. In their journey to Longxi, Cheng Chimo mounted Li Qingwen on a horse, and they rode swiftly toward the city. Upon their arrival, they found the city gates closed. Open the gates, called the special troops riding behind them. With war imminent, Cheng Chimo would not venture out alone. The soldiers on guard quickly relayed the message, and soon, Li Jun and the Li family members came to greet them. Seeing his sister riding with Cheng Chimo brought a smile to Li Jun's face, and the family elders nodded in approval. It was clear that Qingwen had some influence, as her return with Cheng Chimo indicated her favored status. Upon entering the Li residence, Li Qingwen sat confidently beside Cheng Chimo. The more she displayed this demeanor, the more pleased the family elders became. My sister has a fondness for red-crowned cranes. I have heard your family possesses some? She inquired, her tone cool and commanding. As the wife of a duke, she carried the necessary air of authority. Li Jun offered a wry smile, feeling somewhat powerless. Yes, but how many does the princess require? He asked. 6, please, she replied. The family elders had no objections. It was a trivial request. Cheng Chimo, contemplating something, leaned close to Li Qingwen and whispered a few words. Her cheeks flushed, and she turned to Li Jun. I also require 100 cannons, no fewer, she declared, excitement bubbling within her at the prospect of exerting influence over the Li family. Li Jun found himself at a loss, glancing at the elders, who exchanged glances and nodded slightly. Sure, one of them agreed. Li Qingwen was taken aback. Were they truly so generous? And I need 10,000 shells, she added. The elders' expressions tightened. This girl was relentless. Gritting their teeth, they consented. And I want 1,000 warhorses, she continued. Cheng Chimo swore he had not prompted her. Granted. One elder said through clenched teeth, their patience wearing thin. I want 1,000 carts as well, she insisted. Granted, they replied, their faces darkening with displeasure. And I want 2,000 cattle and sheep, she finished. No, you little brat, do not return here again. Should I discover who your teacher is, I shall ensure he is punished for 3 days, thundered an esteemed elder of the clan, directing his ire towards Li Qingwen. Some of the Li clan elders recoiled, knowing that Li Qingwen was one of their own protégés, and they attempted to lower their bodies to avoid detection. However, Li Qingwen remained undeterred, rising to meet the elder's gaze and pointing at another elder hidden among them. He taught me, and he even struck my hand. You ought to punish him for 3 days instead, she declared, her excitement palpable as she anticipated the spectacle of an elder punishing another elder. The elders were left speechless, their anger simmering. This is how it is with young ones, muttered Cheng Chimo, stepping in as a mediator. Li Qingwen does not ask for much. There are only 5,000 sheep, and if any are missing, the consequences are yours to bear. I shall not take them for free. I will cultivate a pasture, and I have no time to manage it, so it shall belong to the Li family, he stated, taking Li Qingwen's hand and sitting down, his eyes brimming with admiration. Li Qingwen felt elated. She had endured much bullying from the elders, who would strike her for the slightest misstep. Today, however, she reveled in her retribution. The Li clan elders exchanged glances, recognizing the shared delight in each other's eyes. As the standard of living improved in the Tang dynasty, the common folk could enjoy a feast of meat during festivals. The demand for meat was high. With pastures, a steady supply could be secured, promising substantial income. We of the Li family agree, declared Li Jun. No one voiced opposition, recognizing the immense profit at stake. Parting with a few resources seemed trivial. The investment was worthwhile. With minimal risk, Cheng Chumo's reputation for clearing vast pastures was no exaggeration. Without lingering, Cheng Chumo returned with Li Qingwen, arriving at the villa 2 days later. The three armies had convened in Shiqing. Cheng Chumo took stock of the artillery, 500 cannons and 10,000 warhorses, establishing cavalry and artillery regiments, all outfitted under the Fufeng Jinbei army. Li Ke hesitated, wishing for fairness in distributing some cannons to the Shu army. Marshal, we too require artillery, insisted Zhang Daliang. His face flushed with urgency. Cheng Chumo shot him a glare. This is about concentrating firepower. Do you understand what that entails? He retorted. Li Ku turned away, inwardly cursing Cheng Chumo for his blatant favoritism, cloaked under the guise of strategy. Distributing cannons to the Shu army would also align with the concept of concentrated firepower. Why not do so? Zhang Daliang pressed on, adamant about the artillery allocation. Cheng Chumo, exasperated by the commotion, produced a single-lens telescope. This is a treasure, worth 100,000 gold coins, but I shall give each of you one. Now cease your prattling, he instructed. His bias was evident. For the Fufeng Jinbei army was the first to be established. The Tianyuan left guard was infantry, and providing them with horses would be futile. Equipping the Shu army would be a jest. Unless those troops were entirely under Cheng Chumo's command, he saw no reason to do so. The three men, bewildered by the telescopes, did not know how to use them. Cheng Chumo then demonstrated their operation. After some experimentation, their spirits soared, enamored with the instruments, and they ceased their demands for equipment. Very well, today we shall review the troops, Cheng Chumo announced. The trio, startled, promptly returned to muster their forces. As the review commenced, Cheng Chumo stood atop the city tower. The Fufeng Jinbei army was exemplary, guarding Fufeng County with the finest weapons. The Tianyuan left guard was commendable as well, albeit a lower-tier special forces unit. However, when the Shu army approached the city, Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. The soldiers wore straw sandals, and their weaponry was a hodgepodge of inferior quality. Cheng Chumo turned to Zhang Daliang, questioning, "Are they to engage in battle like this?" Zhang Daliang replied, "If not like this, then how else?" Li Ku felt a flush of embarrassment. The disparity was glaring. "Summon someone," Cheng Chumo commanded. A special forces soldier stepped forward. "Immediately dispatch weapons and equipment, as well as shoes and clothing," he ordered. The special forces soldier acknowledged. "Marshal, this will incur considerable expense. But it is quite beneficial," Zhang Daliang shamelessly remarked. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened as he began to chastise Zhang Daliang. "When venturing to the Western Turks, do you think the grass is always soft? What will you do in winter? You fool, heed my commands without question," he bellowed. Zhang Daliang wiped his face, while Li Ku remained silent, finding Zhang Daliang's demeanor somewhat foolish as he stared blankly at Cheng Chumo. "Why do you not bow your head? A military officer would rather endure chastisement than lower their gaze. Where's the logistics officer? Write a memorial and inquire about Li Tai's situation," Cheng Chumo added, internally lamenting Li Tai's unreliability. If he did not arrive soon, it would be too late. The blame did not entirely rest on Li Tai, for he genuinely lacked capable generals. While Li Tai could manage civil matters adeptly, he faltered with military commanders, who were impervious to his methods. They possessed myriad justifications for their actions, and as a prince without military merit, how could he expect the generals to respect him? Chapter 226. Crossing the Border. War commences half a month later. The Shu army completed their re-equipping, presenting a wholly renewed front. The soldiers, brimming with excitement, found it difficult to sleep, eager to follow their divine general into battle. Before they had even secured their first victory, they were clad in new garments and wielding new weapons. The Tang sabers gleamed, flawless in their craftsmanship, and the leather boots were most appealing, dark and elegant, allowing for effortless movement. The provisions were vastly improved, with meat served at every meal, ensuring no one suffered from hunger. This was not mere soldiering. It was akin to pampering a noble. In ancient times, soldiers could only feast during wartime, subsisting on meager rations otherwise, often justified as necessary to avoid hindering training. The logistics officer finally arrived, a figure Cheng Chumo had never envisioned, Li Ji. Cheng Chumo felt a wave of exasperation. Li Tai truly had no one suitable to rely upon. "Do you comprehend the situation?" Cheng Chumo inquired. Li Ji nodded earnestly, assuring him of his understanding. Cheng Chumo remained apprehensive as he glanced at Li Bin. "Stay close to Li Ji," he instructed. Li Ji remained silent, aware of his own limitations. "Order the entire army to assemble," Cheng Chumo commanded. The three armies were prepared and arrived at the border. Cheng Chumo gazed out toward the assault zone as the sounds of war drums and horns resonated. The entire army echoed, "Wherever we tread, not a blade of grass shall remain." Cheng Chumo's expression was impassive, marked by a chilling demeanor. Li Ji shivered slightly, feeling the cold. "Wherever we tread, not a blade of grass shall remain," echoed the army, exuding a palpable sense of bloodlust. Advance, commanded Cheng Chimo. Advance, roared the soldiers, stepping across the boundary. As Cheng Chimo took his first stride, chaos erupted in the capital of the Western Turks, as if he had stepped upon their very hearts. No one had anticipated that it would be Cheng Chimo leading the charge. The Turkic king trembled with rage. A resounding slap struck the face of a civil official. Did you not claim that Cheng Chimo is a mortal enemy of the Tang dynasty? What is the meaning of this? The Turkic king bellowed in fury, enraged. He recalled how this scoundrel had sworn that Cheng Chimo had severed ties with the Tang, and that Li Shimin was gravely ill, leaving the Tang dynasty vulnerable both internally and externally. Yet, here was Cheng Chimo leading a formidable army of 100,000 against the Western Turks. Your Majesty, quell your anger. While Cheng Chimo may be invincible in single combat, can he truly command a large force? 150,000 troops are like sheep. With a little cunning, Cheng Chimo will inevitably falter and retreat, and we could potentially annihilate him, advised the civil official. The Turkic king pondered for a moment and acknowledged this reasoning. Indeed, while Cheng Chimo might excel in duels, commanding an army was another matter entirely. Who among you will venture to test the waters? The king inquired. All martial generals turned their gaze towards one individual, a man renowned as the foremost fortunate general of the Western Turks. Having encountered Cheng Chimo twice, he had managed to retreat unscathed. The fortunate general wore a solemn expression. He could not afford to show fear at this moment, for that would spell his end. Rest assured, I have faced Cheng Chimo twice without defeat. I shall go forth to gauge his strength, he declared confidently. The ministers nodded approvingly. Indeed, the fortunate general exuded assurance in the face of Cheng Chimo. Even if he could not triumph over Cheng, he could stall him for several days, allowing the troops from Xianzhou to regroup and encircle Cheng Chimo later. Very well. You shall lead 10,000 men, commanded the Turkic king. Perhaps we should also summon support from the Tiela tribe, suggested a minister. The king nodded and immediately sent word. The Turks and the Tiela tribe shared a common ancestry. As Cheng Chimo crossed the border, he began to rampage, seizing cattle and sheep indiscriminately. Today, an unusual occurrence unfolded. A disheveled young man squatted on the ground, asking passers-by if they had seen a Turkic leader described as having a square face, a long beard, and triangular eyes. Today, this young man obstructed Cheng Chimo's path. Sir, have you encountered a Turk with a square face, triangular eyes, and a long beard? He inquired earnestly. How dare you? Step aside. The marshal is not someone you can impede. Li Ku rebuked him. Cheng Chimo waved his hand dismissively and dismounted, approaching the youth to lift his hair. From the corners of his eyes, it was evident that the young man was not older than 30, yet his face bore the weight of sorrow. Who are you? Cheng Chimo asked. The young man met Cheng's gaze, and Cheng had never seen such a sorrowful expression. I hail from Shurcheng, and I have not seen the person you describe, he replied. In truth, he had seen him many years ago. The young man offered a bitter smile. So it is Shurcheng. I apologize for the intrusion. I take my leave. And with that, he turned to depart. Wait, the Special Forces captain interjected. Suddenly, he remembered who the young man was. He had been a beggar in Shurcheng. It was he who had sought aid in Jiangnan, and after delivering the message, he had vanished. The Special Forces relayed the information to Cheng Chimo. Cheng clasped his fists in gratitude. It could be said that this youth had saved Shurcheng. Care for a drink? Cheng Chimo asked. The young man did not decline, and they sat on the grass together to share a drink. What are you searching for? Cheng inquired. The youth's face was etched with bitterness as he gazed into the distance, recounting his past. The Turks deserve to perish. That year, I set forth with my wife, only to be besieged by the Turks. They killed indiscriminately and looted everything. My wife and I were separated in the chaos. And I heard that she was taken by the Turks, he lamented. Your wife would not happen to be a princess of the previous dynasty, would she? Cheng Chimo asked. The young man was taken aback, but then smiled ruefully. Such concerns are misplaced. I can no longer find my wife. So what does it matter if she was a princess? Indeed, he replied. Cheng Chimo rose to his feet. Haha, you are fortunate. A few years ago, while traversing the Turks, I saved a woman who was also a princess. She was pregnant and could not find her husband. She is currently in Fufeng County. Cheng Chimo recounted. The youth's eyes widened in disbelief. He stood rigidly, taken aback. Cheng Chimo shook his head in exasperation. Is it possible to faint from just a few words? He muttered to himself. It was understandable. The youth, driven by a singular obsession, sought his wife. And upon hearing news of her, could hardly withstand the emotional weight. A person who has gone days without food might find themselves overwhelmed when suddenly presented with meat. Cheng Chimo ordered the Special Forces to place him in a carriage to rest. When the youth awakened, he pursued Cheng Chimo, inquiring about his wife's situation. Cheng, growing increasingly irritated, replied, I cannot take you back to find your wife at this moment. I am quite busy. Could you perhaps keep your distance? How long has it been since you last bathed? Cheng frowned at the unpleasant odor. The youth, embarrassed, stepped back. I shall go wash, he said, turning towards a nearby river. After half an hour, he emerged, having washed and even cut his hair. His hair, having gone years without cleansing, had become matted and tangled. Now, with a bare head and a reddened scalp, he looked somewhat presentable. I wish to accompany you. I want to bring the heads of the Turks to my wife. The youth declared. Cheng Chimo nodded. A true man should take it upon himself to eradicate the Turks. They have tormented the common folk of the Tang too harshly. We must not relent. Like a small river, we must dredge it to release our pent-up resentment. Currently, we refrain from striking because the numbers are few. Once we have the advantage, killing fewer will not quench our thirst for vengeance. I need a driver. From now on, you shall be my driver, Cheng Chumo stated. My lord, this is unwise. I am better suited to be a driver, as I have long aspired to that role, Li Ku interjected. Serving as Cheng Chumo's driver would impart invaluable skills. There were countless others who coveted such an opportunity. Report. Ahead, 10 miles away, we have discovered over 10,000 cavalry. The Special Forces announced. Chapter 227. The Fortunate General Changes, Cooperation. Balloons ascended into the air as the entire army stood ready. With orders issued for the artillery battalion to aim at the front lines 5 miles ahead, Cheng Chumo commanded. Several hot air balloons slowly rose, while others were being heated, ready for launch. The Special Forces captain observed through binoculars from one of the balloons. In the Turkic camp, a general inquired, "Shall we attack now?" The fortunate general shook his head. To survive, one must be cautious. To rise in rank and wealth, one must play the part. He stood with his arms crossed, his gaze fixed on the distance, lost in thought, as if reminiscing. Other generals admired his calm demeanor in the face of Cheng Chumo's formidable army. Indeed, he was a fortunate general. To test the waters, we need not attack. As long as I am present, Cheng Chumo will feel the pressure. This is the interplay of great generals. Remain vigilant and closely monitor the movements of the Tang army. If they adopt a defensive formation, it will indicate Cheng Chumo's fear of me. If they advance directly, we shall retreat 10 miles, the fortunate general instructed. His words were redundant. Any martial general would know that at such a moment, a defensive formation should be established, rather than launching an attack. The prince gazed at him in admiration. It was wise of father to have me follow the fortunate general. Such prowess in calculating Cheng Chumo's mindset. Report. A scout rushed in. The Tang army has assumed a defensive formation, he reported. Continue to scout, commanded the fortunate general, waving his hand. The scout should take his leave. In the prince's eyes shone a gaze of admiration, surpassing even that directed at his father. You must learn diligently, and with intent. Warfare demands composure. Never panic. Remember, victory and defeat are but common occurrences in battle. If one cannot prevail, a tactical retreat is in order. Fleeing is not shameful, but death is. The fortune general spoke with an air of inscrutability. Oh my, you are truly remarkable, the prince remarked. The fortune general, displaying indifference, had grown accustomed to such flattery. The other military leaders voiced their agreement, affirming the truth of his words. The fortune general felt a sense of elation. I shall confront him, he declared. Do not follow. I fear that Cheng Chumo's wrath may be detrimental to you. The other military leaders silently expressed their gratitude. They were indeed reluctant to accompany him. The fortune general rode alone to the front lines, 5 miles ahead. Great General Cheng Chumo of the Tang dynasty, are you willing to converse with me in person? He called out loudly, knowing well that the Tang scouts would hear him. After a moment, he dismounted and awaited a response. Cheng Chumo, upon receiving the news, chuckled softly. Let us meet, he murmured to himself. A young man approached, leading a horse, and knelt on one knee, awaiting Cheng Chumo to mount by stepping on his shoulder. Step aside, Cheng Chumo instructed, for he had no habit of trampling upon others. He swung himself onto his steed and rode up to face the fortune general. Upon seeing him, Cheng Chumo was momentarily taken aback. It was their third encounter, and both recognized one another. It appears we are indeed fated, Cheng Chumo remarked. The fortune general's heart swelled with joy. Such was the bond of camaraderie. How fares the great general? It has been years since we last met. Yet you remain as formidable as ever, the fortune general said, employing phrases he had learned, believing that the culture of the Tang dynasty was the true culture. While considering others as barbaric, one should not strike a smiling face. Cheng Chumo smiled in return, honoring the gesture. The fortune general's excitement grew. Why does the great general choose to assault the Western Turks? We have no quarrel with one another, and Li Tang has shown you no kindness. Why toil for them? He inquired. Cheng Chumo was taken aback, surprised that this fellow possessed some cunning to voice such sentiments. I do not act against individuals, but rather against actions. If you launch an offensive on Xiazhou, I am compelled to respond, Cheng Chumo replied. The fortune general nodded. Indeed, I opposed the invasion of Xiazhou from the beginning. But the king was resolute in his decision. My lowly position rendered my words insignificant. Cheng Chumo listened, perplexed by the fortune general's situation. We have met thrice and are somewhat friends. To be honest, my time among the Turks has not been pleasant. Their demeanor is quite base, and I feel out of place. The fortune general's ambitions were laid bare. Those who feel out of place are often solitary figures. Cheng Chumo understood now. This man aspired to become the king of the Turks. What benefit do I gain from this? He asked. The fortune general refrained from offering Cheng Chumo any immediate advantages, but divulged the deployment of Turkic forces. Around 300,000 cavalry are amassed near the royal city, with over 1 million livestock. They intend to engage you in a war of attrition, and when you penetrate deeper, the Tiela tribe will encircle you from the northeast, severing your supply lines. He scrutinized Cheng Chumo. Cheng Chumo scoffed. Cut off my retreat? I, Cheng Chumo, will take whatever I need as I advance. I can once again breach the Turks and procure provisions from the Great Stone Kingdom. Do you believe I can accomplish this? The Fortune general nodded in acknowledgement. If you can breach once, you can do so again. But what if the Turkic king refuses to engage in a decisive battle? Will you chase him across the steppes for 10 or 20 years? He countered. This was the crux of why the Western Turks were challenging to confront. Pursuing endlessly would eventually lead to exhaustion. Ultimately, negotiations would become necessary. Chung Chumo remained silent, fully aware that if the Turkic main forces fled, he would be unable to pursue them. Let us set terms, he proposed. The Fortune general's heart swelled with joy. He had achieved his objective. To be candid, my ancestors were Han, and my mother was captured by the Turks. I have long sought an opportunity for revenge, he confessed. Chung Chumo fell silent, somewhat taken aback by this melodramatic revelation, uncertain of its authenticity. Such stories were not uncommon. Many Han people had been either captured by the Turks or had fled conflict to seek refuge among them. The Turks originally numbered but 1 million. How had their population swelled to 3 million? 2/3 of them were Han. They lived at the lowest rungs of the steppe society, merely tending sheep, as it were. Enough of this. Let us speak plainly, Chung Chumo urged. The Fortune general bowed again. The Han should be governed by Han. Why should the Turks preside over the Han? If you assist me in becoming the king of the Turks, I shall eradicate the Turks, and we shall divide the steppe equally. Chung Chumo was taken aback. Reveal your plan, he demanded. If you lose to me once, I need only win to rise in rank. Once I command the Turkic army, their fate shall be determined by us. I will help you annihilate the Tiela tribe. After all, Turkic soldiers deserve death, and we shall not mourn their losses. The Fortune general stated. Chung Chumo fell into contemplation, understanding the art of deception. Who could ascertain the truth in such words? No need for a reply from the great general. In 3 days, I shall launch my assault. Should you agree, you may feign retreat. If you disagree, then consider the 10,000 warhorses as a gift of introduction. The Fortune general bowed and left promptly, decisively. Chung Chumo smiled. Indeed, every individual harbors ambition. The once humble leader had transformed into a ruthless aspirant. Upon returning to the military camp, Chung Chumo commenced his preparations. He resolved to cooperate with the Fortune general. If true, the Turks would collapse without a fight, achieving a magnificent victory without bloodshed. If false, he would suffer no loss. Over the course of 3 days, scouts were dispatched within a 100-mile radius, hot air balloons scattered, and sentries established every 10 miles. Deploy accordingly, Chung Chumo commanded. Chapter 228, the performance 3 days later. Over 10,000 Turkic cavalry, led by the Fortune general, charged towards the Tang army. The Fortune general rode at the forefront. Chung Chumo observed from a distance. Who among you will accompany him in this performance? He inquired. The special forces turned their heads away. I cannot play the role. I have never tasted defeat. Zhang Daliang slowly retreated, seeking to hide. Zhang Daliang, you go. You need not fear embarrassment, Chung Chumo insisted. Zhang Daliang opened his mouth, but with his name called, he had no choice but to brace himself. Military orders are as firm as mountains. Li Ke chuckled inwardly, thinking Zhang Daliang was indeed unfortunate. Having spent his early life overshadowed by figures like Li Jing, he had remained obscure. Now, in his first battle, he was to feign surrender. Li Ke wondered if there was something amiss with his ancestral tomb and resolved to remind him of it when the opportunity arose. Zhang Daliang grasped his spear and mounted his horse, his face dark as iron. He struck the horse's flank with a heavy hand and rode to the front lines. Are you brave enough for a duel? He bellowed. The Fortune general felt a stir in his heart, grasping Chung Chumo's intention. Chung Chumo's inaction was an opportunity for him to perform. I shall engage you in battle. The Fortune general roared back, and the two warriors charged at one another. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. Both were well acquainted with their weapons, understanding how to create thunderous sounds with minimal impact. After several rounds of clashing weapons, the valiant general shed his armor and prepared for another bout. From a distance, he bore a striking resemblance to the valor of Zhang Fei. Only Zhang Daliang and the valiant general understood the true nature of the encounter. Both had expended their strength in the spectacle of combat. For the outcome of a life-and-death struggle had long been decided. Zhang Daliang could have bested him in 2 moves. At this moment, Zhang Daliang appeared calm and composed, while the valiant general's face flushed red as he turned his back to the Turkic army, hastily taking a deep breath. They clashed once more. This general has had enough. The favor shown today shall be repaid double in the future, declared the valiant general. Zhang Daliang nodded slightly in acknowledgement. They parried with their spears and retreated momentarily. In their final charge, the valiant general swept his weapon horizontally, causing Zhang Daliang to lower his head slightly, resulting in his helmet being knocked off. Zhang Daliang was unseated from his horse. The valiant general did not pursue, secretly giving him a thumbs up, recognizing that this man's performance was on par with his own. Zhang Daliang spat a fierce remark and turned to flee. The valiant general did not follow, instead raising his spear and laughing heartily. Kill! He roared, inciting the Turkic soldiers to charge with all their might. Chung Chumo smiled, pleased with the turn of events. Retreat, he commanded, and the 3 armies withdrew in an orderly manner. The Turkic soldiers pursued for 10 miles before halting, deterred by the special forces forming a protective line. None of the Turkic generals dared to advance. Reluctantly, they retreated, only to be met with a night of scolding from the valiant general. Useless. 300 men could not even halt your advance. If it weren't for my battle with the enemy's commander, we would not have missed such an opportunity, lamented the valiant general. The other warriors hung their heads in shame. General, please calm your anger. Our task was to probe the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. We have accomplished that and achieved a great victory. It would be wise for us to return, suggested one of the generals. The valiant general, taking advantage of the situation, nodded in agreement. Indeed, the mission is complete. We have captured a general's helmet from the Tang army, an unprecedented achievement. This battle is a significant victory, and any minor flaws in our pursuit are inconsequential. You all have rendered great service, he proclaimed. The other generals rejoiced, appreciating the valiant general's humility in not claiming sole credit for their success. Withdraw, the valiant general ordered. The other generals responded affirmatively, preparing to regroup for the retreat. The prince looked at the valiant general with confusion. General, why share the credit with them? If they had not faltered, we could have captured Cheng Chumo, he expressed. Visibly discontented, the valiant general inwardly cursed the prince for his naivety. Did he truly believe capturing Cheng Chumo was feasible? With an orderly retreat, the three armies departed. Did they appear defeated? A mere 10,000 men attempting to capture Cheng Chumo? They would not even suffice to be cut down by the special forces. You do not comprehend. After this battle, the Tang army's morale will plummet. It is unwise to continue the pursuit, the valiant general explained. The reluctance of those generals is a common human sentiment. They cannot withstand Cheng Chumo's might, he added. Elevating Cheng Chumo's reputation was, in essence, elevating his own. Upon their return to the capital, the prince eagerly embellished the tale, portraying the valiant general as a deity. Father, you should have seen it. A renowned Tang general was felled by our valiant general's spear, he exclaimed, presenting the helmet for all to see. The crowd erupted in joy, dismissing Cheng Chumo's prowess as mere exaggeration. The Turkic king praised, excellent. While the Tang have a divine general, we have our valiant general. His gaze towards the valiant general grew increasingly approving. Although they had successfully repelled Cheng Chumo, the war was far from over. It had merely begun. What shall we do next? Inquired the Turkic king. The ministers remained silent. Let the valiant general lead the three armies. If he can win once, he can win countless times, suggested the prince. The Turkic king turned to the other generals. What do you think? He asked. The commander of the three armies must command respect. If anyone disputes the valiant general's authority, he cannot take the lead. One burly general interjected, I do not yield. If he can win, so can I. Grant me 10,000 cavalry, and I will pursue Cheng Chumo for 3,000 miles to avenge our past grievances. The Turkic king fell silent. Cheng Chumo had been defeated once, and now the king no longer feared him. As the burly general stated, a single defeat could lead to countless more. We concur, the other generals echoed. However, some held reservations about allowing the valiant general to take command. If he were to triumph over Cheng Chumo again, they would not require his leadership. The valiant general seemed to ascend too rapidly. The Turkic king observed him closely, noting the calm demeanor he maintained, as though their conversation bore no significance to him. The king's admiration for him deepened. Such an unflappable attitude was unparalleled. Noticing the Turkic king's gaze, the valiant general offered a slight nod, amused within. Go. It is just right for me to repay a favor. Let 1,000 die if 1,000 must. Very well, we shall proceed as you suggest, the Turkic king replied. The jubilant general exited the grand hall, hastily assembling 10,000 troops to march towards Cheng Chumo's location. At that moment, Cheng Chumo was advancing steadily, encountering no resistance along the way. Report. Ahead lies another 10,000 cavalry, announced a special forces soldier. Cheng Chumo fell silent, realizing the valiant general's ploy was not yet over. Was he attempting to feign surrender? No, such tactics can only be employed once. Repeated attempts will dampen morale. Prepare for battle. Cheng Chumo commanded, receiving affirmative responses from his men. Zhang Daliang's voice rang the loudest, pent-up frustration evident in his tone. Let us avoid unnecessary losses. Our artillery is plentiful. We shall take him down with 10,000 shells. Cheng Chumo ordered. Zhang Daliang's expression darkened. He was out of options. The Turkic cavalry charged forward without hesitation, and as they neared the Tang army, the cannon fire erupted. Shells rained down upon them, and the Turkic steeds, unaccustomed to such a display, panicked, scattering in all directions. Cheng Chumo observed from a hot air balloon, shaking his head. The outcome of this battle was already certain. Horses collided, and countless soldiers were trampled underfoot. Cease bombardment. Zhang Daliang, deploy our forces to clear the field. I want those horses, Cheng Chumo ordered. Upon receiving the command, Zhang Daliang nearly burst into tears, leading his troops into a desperate charge. Frustration boiling over. Zhang Daliang unleashed his fury upon the disoriented Turkic general, whose eyes widened in shock. In a fierce exchange, he struck him down from his horse. In Chang'an, Li Tai trembled as he perused the report. Cheng Chumo had suffered defeat, routed by the Turkic cavalry. This is unacceptable. Cheng Chumo is of little use. Li Tai roared. Chapter 229, The Turkic King's Brother. Li Tai urgently needed Cheng Chumo to secure a victory. As the crown prince, he found himself in a precarious position. If Cheng Chumo could achieve even a minor triumph, he could assert himself in the court. The fact that Cheng Chumo was being pushed back by 10,000 cavalry incited Li Tai's wrath. Your Highness, please remain calm, Liang Luoren advised. Li Tai took a deep breath, pondering the situation. Something felt amiss. How could the acclaimed divine general, supported by special forces, be routed by merely 10,000 cavalry? Ha ha. Splendid. Splendid indeed. Li Tai exclaimed, repeating the word splendid thrice. This must be Cheng Chumo's strategy, though Li Tai is uncertain as to why. He cannot believe that Cheng Chumo would be driven back by merely 10,000 cavalry. This disbelief is not limited to Li Tai. No one in the Great Tang dynasty would accept such a notion. Cheng Chumo is the individual who pierced through the Western Turkic forces. How could he, now commanding an army of 150,000, be overwhelmed by just 10,000 Turkic riders? Moreover, with artillery and balloons at his disposal, each is a formidable weapon capable of altering the rules of warfare. In Chang'an, the Li family is engaged in a game of chess. Li Jing and his brother Li Jia ponder the situation. Cheng Chumo driven back by 10,000 Turkic cavalry? Li Jia questions. His skepticism evident as he awaits his elder brother's analysis. For Li Jing is a military deity with profound understanding. Li Jing places his piece, his gaze contemplative. Only one person can match Cheng Chumo in military strategy, and that person currently resides in Shizhou. I cannot fathom anyone else capable of besting Cheng Chumo. It seems probable that he is merely acting in concert with certain individuals. This interpretation is the only one that makes sense. Li Jing asserts, convinced it is a stratagem. Otherwise, there is no reason for retreat, for the Western Turks lack a notable commander who could compel Cheng Chumo's forces to withdraw. Regarding ground forces, Cheng Chumo wields artillery. And even the fiercest Turkic cavalry would be ineffective unless faced with persistent torrential rains that would hinder the artillery's performance. Furthermore, Cheng Chumo possesses aerial superiority, a dominance that even Li Jing does not feel confident confronting. Contemplating this, Li Jing's expression darkens. That technology he has dispatched individuals to study for an extended period has yielded no results. What could possibly ignite without a source? Could this be the core technology? The thought of this brings Li Jing considerable distress. In his pursuit of this knowledge, he has exhausted his wealth, finally understanding why Cheng Chumo, despite his riches, still seeks more. Technology indeed consumes vast resources. He can assure that even a nation's might would be insufficient for such endeavors. Indeed, Cheng Chumo employs biogas, a revolutionary innovation. If the Arab world were to be integrated, it would simplify matters significantly, for there, oil is easily extracted, akin to the underground water of the Tang dynasty. Digging a pit, even a little deeper, may yield oil. Currently, oil holds little value, and the Tang dynasty refers to that land as a filthy place. When he returns, I shall swallow my pride and inquire about the origin of that rootless fire. Li Jing resolves firmly, intent on acquiring it. What shall you do about your concubine? Li Jia inquires. Li Jing's countenance darkens. It is lamentable that a renowned general should exhibit such avarice and lust. Cheng Chumo sneezes. Zhang Daliang stands before him, brimming with excitement. This battle has truly invigorated me. Commander, I spared not a single one of those 10,000. They were all slain, akin to capturing pigs. Zhang Daliang exclaims. Pigs? How does one capture pigs? Li Ke questions. Your Highness, have you never eaten pork or seen a pig run? Zhang Daliang replies helplessly. The prince seems oblivious to the matter. Li Ke's face flushes with embarrassment, for he genuinely does not know what a running pig looks like. Zhang Daliang ceases to respond. Gazing upwards at the tent ceiling, feeling exasperated, Li Ke casts a pleading glance at Cheng Chumo, who stands with an air of disdain. This fellow is utterly inept. As a prince, you should return home to raise children. If you possess neither diligence nor knowledge of grains, what use are you? Cheng Chumo remarks. Li Ke opens his mouth to speak. Zhang Daliang scratches his head, perplexed. He understands the former's lack of diligence, but what are the 5 grains in the latter's statement? Many readers may not know, and I do not either. Those who do, please enlighten us. What are the 5 grains, Commander? Zhang Daliang asks. Cheng Chumo shoots him a glare before turning to leave. Defeating 10,000 cavalry, Cheng Chumo allocates 1,000 horses to the Shu army, with the remainder belonging to the Fufeng Jinbei army. The main force continues onward, encountering several waves of resistance, all dealt with by Zhang Daliang alone. 3 months later, they are a mere 100 miles from the royal city. Cheng Chumo orders the army to halt. He intends to wait. Within the royal city, the Turkic king wears a grim expression, glaring at his generals. We dispatched 10,000 men to fight, and what is the outcome? Not one returned. Cheng Chumo stands at our gates, 100 miles away. This is a profound humiliation. In the past, when our kings gathered, it was a sight of great grandeur. Poised at the Weishui River, how can we allow ourselves to be bullied by Cheng Chumo? The Turkic king laments. The generals dare not speak. They cannot bring themselves to confront Cheng Chumo again. Those 10,000 perished without a sound. The Turkic king sighs internally, glancing at the Fortune general, forcing a smile. What strategy do you propose, Fortune general? He inquires. The Fortune general shakes his head. Now that Cheng Chumo is 100 miles away, had he been 1,000 miles off, I would have had a plan. Now, the opportunity has slipped away, but there may still be a way, the Fortune general responds. All eyes turn to him. Does he indeed have a solution? If he does, that would be fortunate. The Fortune general refrains from speaking further. Certain matters must remain unspoken as he desires to become commander. Are you willing to lead a charge? The Turkic king asks. The Fortune general smiles ruefully. I can lead men into battle, but that would be akin to sending them to their deaths. Should your majesty command, I shall not dare to disobey. Please issue your decree, he replies. The Turkic king lapses into silence. The Fortune General is currently the only one capable of contending with Ching Chumo. He must not perish. His death would trigger a chain reaction that the Turkic king cannot accept. The morale of the troops would collapse with the loss of the Fortune General. They have elevated him too highly. Then we shall hold our ground and await the arrival of my brother, the Turkic king decides. In his heart, he believes that there can only be one commander, his brother. No one else will suffice. Although the Fortune General possesses ability, he still trusts his brother. The generals take their leave, and the Fortune General exits the Grand Hall. He can discern the Turkic king's intentions, which revolve around the mightiest warrior of the Turkic people, his brother. If that is the case, do not blame me for my ruthlessness. I initially intended to emulate Dong Zhuo by seizing the emperor to command the lords, but it seems there is no need for the emperor. The Fortune General muses to himself. Returning to his residence, the Fortune General disguises himself and approaches a concealed escape route near the city gate. This is a hidden dog hole, crafted by Tang artisans for the purpose of escape. After traversing the dog hole, he arrives at a nearby grove where more than 10 individuals await. All of them are Tang people. Let us proceed, the Fortune General commands. They arrive at a hillock, sparsely dotted with trees. The Fortune General bows before Ching Chumo. There has been an unexpected turn of events. The Turkic king's brother is aware of this. If he does not perish, I cannot attain the position of commander, the Fortune General states. Ching Chumo furrows his brow. For he does not know who the Turkic king's brother is. He is the one who invaded Shizhou, the Fortune General adds. Ching Chumo's face darkens with anger. Those who invade the Tang dynasty must pay the price. You must ascertain their precise location, and I shall ensure they suffer consequences, Ching Chumo asserts. The Fortune General bows once more. The two engage in further discussion, ultimately deciding to lure the Turkic king's brother into a basin. Ching Chumo plans to entomb them with artillery. 10,000 shells for the Turkic king's brother. Chapter 230. Besieging the Turkic king's brother. Ching Chumo returns to prepare. The Fortune General also readies himself. Ching Chumo finds a depression, at the center of which lies a modest lakeside. He rides around the lake. This is an excellent watering hole for horses, Ching Chumo remarks. Upon arriving at the edge of the basin, 5 concealed artillery positions were identified. Ching Chumo was prepared to make his move here, while the general, Fu Jiang, had begun his approach. My king. I am concerned that Ching Chumo might employ the tactic of surrounding and attacking reinforcements, as he is indeed a disciple of Li Jing. Fu Jiang expressed with evident worry upon entering the Great Hall to address the Turkic king. The king was taken aback, realizing the gravity of the situation. Indeed, how could Li Jing's apprentice not utilize such a strategy? What will happen if my exhausted forces are cornered by Ching Chumo? He pondered. Fortunately, Fu Jiang had provided a timely warning. You are correct. Ching Chumo will not forego the chance to surround and attack reinforcements. What should we do? The king inquired. Fu Jiang shook his head, asserting, this matter requires your decisive leadership, my king. He suggested maintaining a cautious approach, allowing for plausible deniability should Ching Chumo fail, thereby avoiding blame. The Turkic king fell into contemplation, glancing at his ministers, who were lost in deep thought. Perhaps we should have my brother march at night. Under the cover of darkness? Proposed a civil servant. However, the notion was met with disdain, for civilian involvement in military matters was deemed foolish. Will marching at night not be noticed? Absolutely not. It would be self-deception. As long as Ching Chumo's sentries are vigilant, they will surely detect us, Fu Jiang asserted. The ministers nodded in agreement, recognizing the wisdom in Fu Jiang's words. Instead, let us conceal the army. I am aware of a nearby basin with water, where we can remain hidden indefinitely, suggested another civil servant. Fu Jiang internally applauded the idea, as it alleviated much of his burden. He had anticipated that someone would propose such a suggestion, which he could then counter until the notion of hiding the army was raised. Thankfully, a fool had come forward to assist. The Turkic king agreed. This is indeed a sound strategy. Let my brother conceal himself and await the moment when the royal city dispatches its forces. At that time, we shall strike from both sides, ensuring Ching Chumo's defeat. Very well, summon my brother and instruct him to hide in that basin, waiting for the royal city to launch an assault, so we can capture Ching Chumo alive, commanded the king. The ministers responded in unison. 2 weeks later, the Turkic prince arrived at the basin as instructed. After ordering scouts to meticulously assess the surroundings, he felt secure enough to set camp. This place seems suitable, he mused, although a military officer voiced concern. If we are surrounded, how will we break free? The Turkic prince waved dismissively. There are capable individuals among the Turkic forces. Not everyone is a fool. I have 200,000 troops, while Ching Chumo commands only 150,000. What can he do to encircle us? Ching Chumo is not Li Jing, though he is called a divine general. He is merely a man of brute strength. Countless warriors from my homeland can surpass him. The Turkic prince regarded his sole rival as the military deity Li Jing, dismissing Ching Chumo entirely. How could a mere youth compare to a seasoned warrior like myself? Even if he possesses some fighting prowess, it is but raw strength. I have heard he was recently defeated by the pompous Fu Jiang. Such a person was unworthy of leading an army, he thought, lamenting the lack of capable commanders in the Tang dynasty. Rest assured, I shall maintain control. Order the 3 armies to encamp around this lake, the prince commanded, also instructing scouts to probe 50 miles ahead. Despite underestimating Cheng Chumo, he understood that war left no room for carelessness. Upon receiving intelligence, Cheng Chumo swiftly organized his forces. He had not concealed his artillery. The 5 artillery positions were already marked discreetly. Hot air balloons ascended, carrying the artillery aloft. The 3 armies surged forth, racing towards the basin. Advance at full speed. We must encircle the basin by tomorrow morning, Cheng Chumo directed. Zhang Daliang and the others complied. Throughout the night, they marched 100 miles. As dawn broke, exhaustion overtook everyone. Suddenly, cannon fire erupted from 5 artillery positions, encircling 200,000 Turkic soldiers within the basin. The horses, startled, bolted chaotically, leaving the Turkic soldiers disoriented and aimless. The Turkic prince was taken aback. He had never encountered such a situation where his horses refused to heed commands. The strength of Turkic cavalry relied upon obedient steeds, yet now they scattered in terror. Without horses, the Turkic soldiers were rendered powerless. Meanwhile, Tang soldiers began to seize the frenzied horses, countless steeds, beyond reckoning. Zhang Daliang trembled with excitement, contemplating whether the commander would allocate all the horses to the Fufeng Jinbei army, though he hoped to secure at least 10,000 for the Shuzhou army. We must capture every last one without letting any escape, he urged, eagerly anticipating fortune. While the Tianyuan left guard remained inactive, allowing the horses to flee. Half a day passed, yet the Turkic prince had not organized his troops. The Tianyuan left guard charged into the basin, engaging the Turkic infantry. The outcome was unmistakable. The Turkic soldiers were swiftly defeated, falling apart under the onslaught. The Fufeng Jinbei army outside relentlessly cleared the fleeing Turkic soldiers, leaving none behind. The battle raged for 3 days, resulting in the deaths of half of the 200,000 Turkic soldiers, with the remainder shrinking into the main camp. Cheng Chumo, observing through his telescope, commanded artillery strikes every 3 hours. The bombardment persisted for 3 days, rendering the Turkic camp lifeless. Turkic soldiers, beleaguered by fatigue, attempted to sleep beneath the thunder of cannon fire. The Turkic prince's eyes burned with rage. This defeat left no chance for recovery. In that moment, he understood that it was not Cheng Chumo's prowess that overwhelmed him, but rather the fortuitous alignment of time and place. What a treacherous pit! My brother has betrayed me, he roared, expelling a mouthful of blood, a grim smile crossing his face. The camp was littered with corpses, beyond salvation. He spoke the truth, indeed. Someone had conspired against him. The architect of his demise was Fu Jiang, not his brother. General, let us surrender. We are left with only 70,000 survivors. One military officer suggested through gritted teeth. The Turkic prince, powerless, sank to the ground. Surrender? He could disdain Cheng Chumo, but he could not underestimate his ruthlessness. Would he show mercy to captives? Was that even a possibility? The Turkic prince, fueled by an unknown strength, rose to his feet. I wish to see Cheng Chumo, he declared, determined to uncover the truth behind Cheng Chumo's seemingly omniscient awareness of the 50-mile radius. Questioning how he had still fallen into an ambush despite his caution. What caused those thunderous sounds that shattered his forces and morale? One military officer approached, holding a white flag, announcing, Our general wishes to meet you. The officer regarded Cheng Chumo with defiance, believing that had there not been betrayal, they would not have been ensnared in this pit, nor would they have suffered such a devastating defeat. Cheng Chumo remained unfazed. However, Zhang Daliang could not tolerate the disrespect shown towards his commander. Stepping forth, he confronted the Turkic officer, delivering a series of resounding slaps. Clean your eyes. How dare you show such disrespect to my commander? You must be tired of living, Zhang Daliang admonished. The officer, cowed, could not meet Cheng Chumo's gaze, muttering, pathetic. Zhang Daliang retorted, Turkic fools need a lesson. A good beating will bring them to their senses. Where is your spirit now? It has vanished with just a few strikes. In the face of the strong, the weak tremble. They become mere pawns before the formidable. Chapter 231, A Welcome Gift Upon Arrival. Cheng Chumo resolved to meet the Turkic king. I shall arrange the venue. Inform your king to prepare, Cheng stated. 3 days later, the chosen location was 5 miles from the Turkic camp. Cheng arrived, accompanied by elite soldiers. As the commander, his safety was paramount, for it represented the lives of 150,000 men. There could be no room for negligence. The Turkic king had arrived earlier. Upon seeing Cheng, a surge of fury coursed through him. How could a youth, not yet 30, have driven him to such desperation? Before negotiations could commence, cannon fire erupted, fiercer than before, with shells raining down incessantly, enveloping the camp in a cloud of smoke. The Turkic king trembled, vowing that if given the chance, he would consume Cheng alive. I concede. Speak. How can I exchange the lives of 70,000 soldiers? He demanded. This was the very purpose of his meeting with Cheng. With no hope of turning the tides, he resolved to buy their lives. Cheng shook his head. Release? Impossible. Their fate was sealed the moment they invaded Xiangzhou. A partial release could be negotiated. But what will you offer in return? He replied. The Turkic king stared at Cheng for a long moment. Land and compensation, he proposed. Cheng cast a glance toward the camp, feigning a compassionate demeanor. Alas, I, Cheng Chumo, still possess a kind heart, he lamented. The Turkic king's expression darkened. while the elite soldiers bowed their heads in silence. Their leader's bravado was misplaced. Kindness had no bearing on his authority. Enough of this nonsense, the Turkic king retorted. Chung smiled sincerely. I require your right arm. Your army may only retain 10,000 men. 6 out of 7 must perish. Remember, only 10,000 may lay down their arms and depart. The cost for their release is 100,000 stones of copper. I know your kind has ample wealth. Having plundered neighboring states, you have 7 days to send word. After that, the offer expires, Chung declared, turning his horse to leave. A few Turkic generals charged towards Chung, desperate to seize him, for their survival hinged upon it. Chung did not look back, and several warriors fell to the blades of his elite soldiers. Turkic king, if your men are of such low caliber, do not even think of resistance. You are unworthy, Chung scoffed. The Turkic king spat blood, staining his horse's neck. The negotiations concluded, and he dispatched a general to the royal city. In the royal city, the Turkic king's eyes widened in disbelief upon receiving the news. Surrounded? A deadlock? 100,000 stones of copper required? He believed wealth to be but a superficial concern. Your Majesty, please issue a decree to ransom my brother, urged the loyal general. Having received Cheng's message, their aim was to undermine the Turkic king, pitting him against the Turkic royal family, ensuring that the general could profit from the chaos. Upon receiving the news, he inwardly acknowledged Chung as a ruthless strategist. Such a cunning scheme could only be conceived by Chung. 7 kill 6, 1 survives. 7 men. Only 1 may live. Must the Turkic king himself do the killing? Is such a thing conceivable? A warrior interjected. The Turkic king turned to the loyal general, who was the only one advocating for the ransom. If the Turkic king perished, the loyal general would be the chief beneficiary, his stature elevated to that of a commander-in-chief. A sigh escaped the Turkic king. He had to secure his brother's release, for he was the one he most trusted, sharing a queen and children. Yet there lingered a doubt. Would Chung honor his word? Would he accept the ransom and then execute the Turkic king? Do you think Chung is trustworthy? The Turkic king inquired. Trustworthy. His word is worth a fortune. No commander would speak lightly. To claim otherwise is to speak of small-mindedness, the loyal general asserted, preparing for his own ascendance. The other warriors bore grim expressions, as the loyal general nearly rebuked them for their lack of vision. The Turkic king nodded. Then let it be. Securing my brother's release is of utmost importance. Who will handle this matter? He asked again. All heads bowed, for this was no easy task. Whoever undertook it would bear the brunt of public scorn. The Turkic king turned to the loyal general, who thought bitterly. You want me to save your brother and take the blame? Dream on. If your majesty commands me, I will resign my post and return home. Unable to face my troops, he replied. His words rang true. Should he go, he would lose his credibility as a leader, and the signatory of a humiliating treaty would not fare well. The Turkic king pondered deeply before ultimately deciding to send a civil servant. The civil servants, devoid of shame, could withstand the ire of the masses. In the Tang military camp, Chung met with the envoy, feeling exasperated. The Turkic response was inadequate. Should they not have dispatched soldiers for rescue? Were they simply acquiescing? He had planned to continue his strategy of surrounding and striking. Double the demand, Chung insisted, seeking to compel the Turkic to mount a rescue, refusing to let such an opportunity slip away. The envoy's expression soured. Commander, your actions may be perceived as lacking integrity. The envoy warned, though hesitantly. Chung scoffed at the notion. Lack of integrity? What a jest. I, Chung Chumo, am the epitome of integrity. I promised you could ransom the Turkic king, yet I never mentioned the soldiers. You are not at a loss. 100,000 stones of copper for 10,000 men. He countered. The envoy departed, defeated, and returned to the royal city to relay the news. The Turkic king erupted in fury. Chung is taking advantage of our predicament. He turned to the loyal general. How many men can you spare to rescue my brother? The Turkic king resolved to take a firm stance, even if it meant confronting Chung directly. The loyal general shook his head. This is not merely a question of rescue. Even if I could repel Chung, who would ensure the safety of the king? Is there any chance of survival? He lamented. The Turkic king sighed inwardly, recognizing the dilemma was unsolvable. Reluctantly, a warrior stepped forward. I am willing to lead 50,000 cavalry to rescue the king. Ultimately, the Turkic king resolved to send reinforcements, recognizing that mere concession would only embolden Chung further. Agreed, he declared. Your Majesty, consider this carefully, the loyal general cautioned, thinking to himself that this was indeed the essence of surrounding and striking. Whoever goes shall bear the risk, he thought. The Turkic cavalry assembled, charging towards the basin. They encountered only small skirmishes but broke through the defenses and entered the basin, finally reaching the camp of the Turkic king. Upon seeing his brother, the Turkic king did not wait for accolades. He slapped the envoy across the face in frustration. Fool, why did you not heed my words to ransom the prisoners? You dare show up empty-handed? The Turkic king nearly succumbed to rage, having never encountered such folly. Is there still a need for him to charge in? The Turkic king lead his men to break through? Charging in is downhill, an uncomplicated offensive. Breaking out is uphill, against the tide. And with Chung Chumo blocking the way, what can they possibly use to escape? Boom. The bombardment commences. The Turkic king does not flinch, welcoming death with indifference. He gazes skyward, left speechless by his incompetent allies. They scramble for position, recklessly throwing themselves into danger. Surrender, says a warrior. The Turkic king unsheaths his saber and executes the warrior. Surrender? How can one yield before the appointed time? Chapter 232. Success. The Turkic king loses an arm. Upon receiving the news, the Turkic king coughs up blood and faints. After a long while, he opens his bloodshot eyes. Such folly, forsaking the nation. He cries out in despair. Half of the nation's military strength has perished in the basin. The fortunate general bows his head, contemplating a future where he would rename the land he rules to the grave of the Turkic. 25 men, fitting of such a title. What shall we do? The Turkic king's eyes blaze with fury as he shouts hoarsely. The warriors remain silent, fearing to respond. The urgent matter is to negotiate with Cheng Chumo immediately. If sufficient benefits are offered, the king should return. Once he returns to command the 250,000 troops in the city, the outcome of the battle against Cheng Chumo remains uncertain. The fortunate general suggests. The Turkic king, feeling exhausted, closes his eyes. Arrange it, agree to Cheng Chumo's terms. He instructs. The fortunate general complies, and the ministers fall into an eerie silence. It is unusually quiet. Only after sacrificing 50,000 troops do they realize the pain. The emissary meets Cheng Chumo once more. Cheng Chumo does not raise the price. The agreement is smoothly concluded. 1 in 10 will survive. Go tell the Turkic king to execute the rest himself, Cheng Chumo states. The emissary's lips twitch as he bows and exits the tent. Turning back to glance at it, the thick fabric of the tent cannot conceal Cheng Chumo's murderous intent. 100,000 shall only see 10,000 survive. And they must slay each other? After issuing such an order, how can the Turkic king still command the army? Will the soldiers dare to follow him? They would rather see him dead, he muses bitterly. Cheng Chumo is ruthless, striking at the heart. Upon arriving at the military camp, the scene is even more dismal than he imagined. Not a blade of grass remains. The camp is riddled with craters, each pit housing another. The soldiers resemble walking corpses, lying in the pits, wishing for death in the next bombardment. The more they yearn for death, the more they are spared. The pits offer them protection, as it is difficult for shells to land in the same crater. The emissary approaches the Turkic king. My king, Cheng Chumo demands that only 1 in 10 survive. The rest must die, he reports. The Turkic king rises, his expression unchanged, yet he despises the warrior who came to their aid. They must kill another 30,000. His face remains impassive, but his heart trembles. Assemble the troops. The Turkic king commands. The remnants of the army gather. The Turkic king rides through, seemingly memorizing every face. 1 in 10, the entire army echoes. The Turkic king bellows. Yet not a sound escapes the Turkic soldiers, who are engulfed in despair. Cheng Chumo observes this from above, hoping they will be better people in their next lives. There are always consequences for one's actions. Fire. Cheng Chumo orders. Boom. As his words fall, the artillery roars to life. The Turkic soldiers fall in waves. Cheng Chumo will not allow the Turkic king to speak, for his words would redirect the soldiers' hatred toward Cheng Chumo. Cheng Chumo remains indifferent to the soldiers' thoughts. He cannot allow the Turkic king to regain their loyalty. After the bombardment, fewer than 20,000 remain alive. The Turkic king's thoughts are drowned out by the cannon's roar. His eyes turn bloodshot as a sense of helplessness washes over him, leaving no opportunity for a resurgence. Another 10,000 must still be slain. The emissary grits his teeth and gives the order. 2 for every 1, commence. He commands. He has come to bear the blame. After half a day, only 10,000 soldiers remain standing, the rest lie dead. Words cannot convey the emotions of these soldiers. Before the Turkic king can issue a command, someone steps out of the camp, followed by thousands more. No one heeds the Turkic king's orders any longer. His words fall on deaf ears. To kill the enemy is one thing, but to slaughter one's own is another. More than 200,000 lives are worth less than 1 Turkic king. The Turkic soldiers are not fools. They may be dim-witted, but they can come to understand the situation. The 10,000 march out of the basin like specters, as if given a second chance at life. Cheng Chumo does not impede their exit. Meat is laid out on the ground, and the Turkic soldiers hurriedly consume it. They bow toward the direction of the Tang army, vowing never to set foot in Huaxiao again. This sentiment resonates with all Turkic soldiers. Cheng Chumo has subdued them. The cannon fire has extinguished their wild spirit. This will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Just recently, they were looting and pillaging in the Tang realm. Today, they face slaughter. The Turkic king emerges from the abyss. 300 special forces block their path. The special forces are fewer than 300. Having lost many in their previous confrontation with Li Shimin in the imperial city, they have been recently replenished. The special forces captain rides forward. The Lord commands. You have yet to fulfill your promise. Relinquish your right hand. The captain states. The Turkic emissary looks at the Turkic king in disbelief. The general has lost an arm? What use is there in fighting now? The Turkic king is decisive, taking matters into his own hands. With one swift stroke, he severs his own limb. Clutching the stump in agony, the special forces turn their horses and depart, leaving without a word. Cheng Chumo orders the army to leave the basin and follow the Turkic king onward. They arrive at the foot of the royal city, reaching it ahead of the king. The troops parade before the royal city. Cannon fire erupts, followed by the beating of war drums and the blaring of horns. The 3 armies march past the Turkic royal city in succession. Hundreds of hot air balloons rise into the sky. The Turkic soldiers on the city walls lower their heads. none daring to release an arrow or issue commands. The Turkic king has become numb to the situation. Within the city, the Turkic nobles begin preparing the Tang military flags, hoping to save their lives. They will hang these flags once the Tang army enters the city. Once the parade concludes, Cheng Chumo commands the troops to camp 10 miles outside the royal city. The Turkic king finally returns to the royal city, which is enveloped in a heavy silence. Everyone harbors but one thought: they cannot win. They truly cannot prevail. Is there any difference between this city and the basin? How can they counter Cheng Chumo's bombardment? There is no solution. The Turkic king gazes upon the Turkic king, who has lost an arm. Brother, the Turkic king's eyes brim with tears. The Turkic king sighs in despair. Cheng Chumo is too ruthless. It is over for him. No longer can he take pride in being Turkic. Cheng Chumo has stained his reputation with the blood of over 200,000 souls. He will never command respect again. The soldiers trailing behind him would inevitably recall the 20,000 white bones in the basin. Even if the new recruits were unaware, they would inevitably inquire about his severed arm. Brother Wang, tend to your injuries. Leave the rest to me, he declared. The Turkic king remained silent as he departed. He turned to Fu Jiang, asking, "Are you prepared to lead the entire city's forces into a decisive battle against Cheng Chumo?" Fu Jiang, filled with excitement, readily accepted the charge. Finally, his long-held desire was fulfilled, and he was entrusted with the grave responsibility. The Turkic king presented the marshal's seal, bowing in respect before handing it to Fu Jiang, who accepted it with trembling hands, feeling the weight of the insignia. After receiving the seal, Fu Jiang raised it high. The military leaders collectively knelt, proclaiming, "We salute the marshal." Fu Jiang remained silent for a long moment, eventually stowing the seal away. The first step was complete. He now commanded the military. The next would be to cleanse the ranks, eliminating anyone who opposed him. This task did not require Cheng Chumo's assistance. Fu Jiang was fully capable of handling it. Upon returning to his residence, he reveled in the exhilaration of his newfound authority. Cheng Chumo truly is a formidable general. Collaborating with him is remarkably satisfying. He laughed heartily. Bring forth the generals of the Northern Army, the generals of Wang City, and the generals of the Western City. I wish to see the emissary of the Tiela tribe, he commanded, demonstrating his ruthlessness by wielding the sword of justice as soon as he assumed power. In the next chapter, Fu Jiang hosted a banquet. Upon meeting the emissary of the Tiela tribe, they exchanged pleasantries. "I have just assumed command of a national army, and the situation is dire. I wish to know when your Tiela tribe can provide support, and when you can sever Cheng Chumo's supply line," Fu Jiang inquired. The emissary smiled wryly, fully aware of the circumstances in western Turkestan. There was no hope. Cheng Chumo's display of might had silenced any resistance in Wang City. The morale of a nation had been utterly crushed by Cheng Chumo. If the Tiela tribe could cut off Cheng Chumo's retreat, perhaps it might compel him to withdraw. This is western Turkestan's only chance, but it is a challenging task, he mused. Observing the emissary's silence, Fu Jiang's expression soured. Do not forget that when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. Do you think the Tiela tribe can betray Tang and remain unscathed? He thundered. Pressure was essential at this moment. Without the Tiela tribe's assistance, he could not justify his actions to Cheng Chumo. Initially, it had been agreed that the Turkic forces would eliminate the Tiela tribe. The emissary gritted his teeth, understanding the truth of Fu Jiang's statement. If western Turkestan fell, the Tiela tribe would not fare any better. "I shall write a letter immediately," the Turkic emissary replied. Fu Jiang smiled and raised his cup in a toast. For 3 days, the Turkic capital underwent a thorough purging. All dissenters were eradicated, and the officials, both civil and military, dared not voice any objections. The Turkic king was aware of these events, but chose not to intervene. The price of a general's success often meant countless bones lay in the wake. To command effectively, a general must establish authority, and Fu Jiang relished in this power. As he donned his armor to patrol the city, a woman emerged from a room. He hastened to assist her. She was with child, his child. If Cheng Chumo were to see her, he would be astounded. She had once served as a maid to Empress Chang's son, betraying her to inform Li Shimin of all that transpired. Afterward, the empress dismissed her, leaving her without any attendance. "My husband, you must diligently carry out your duties. Our child is soon to be born," she urged. Fu Jiang's demeanor grew serious. "Do not worry, my dear. His Majesty will surely value your contributions. Qi Baiheili is now a duke. Your future is bound to be prosperous," she continued. Drawing a comparison between Fu Jiang and Qi Baiheili was not unfounded. Qi Baiheili was the mastermind behind the division of the Tiela tribe and Eastern Turkestan. With the Eastern Turkestan king seeking his life, Li Shimin had traded a princess to retrieve him. After a few years as the Grand Commander in Yuzhou, he now guarded the imperial tombs. When the cunning rabbit dies, the hunting dog is cooked. With Eastern Turkestan's demise, Qi Baiheili was rendered obsolete. His role as guardian of the tomb was the best fate he could hope for, as it spared him from being discarded once he had outlived his usefulness. Fu Jiang smiled in agreement, but inwardly he felt differently. Compared to Li Shimin, he preferred to place his trust in Cheng Chumo, for he found him to be credible. As Fu Jiang began to speak, the woman gently placed her hand over his mouth. "My love, speak no more. Focus on your tasks," she advised. Casting him a subtle look, Fu Jiang chuckled bitterly to himself, aware that walls have ears. If Li Shimin could position him in Turkestan, he could similarly place others there. Glancing at his wife's belly, he realized that with a child on the way, exerting control would be even more challenging. After soothing his wife with a few kind words, Fu Jiang commenced his city patrol. After completing a round, he gathered the troops and exited the city. No longer concealing his intentions, he declared, "The king is unworthy. 25,000 lives traded for a single brother. Who can accept this? I refuse, do you?" The eyes of the Turkic soldiers reddened. Among them were their brothers. They refused to accept it. Why should 25,000 lives be exchanged for one? Were their lives so worthless? I will revolt. Fu Jiang shouted. The Turkic soldiers roared in response, joining him in rebellion. Such a king was unworthy of their loyalty. I have considered your futures. If Cheng Chumo lays siege, not a blade of grass will survive. You will all perish, along with your families. For their sake, we must surrender to Cheng Chumo, Fu Jiang urged. The Turkic soldiers were bewildered. Surrender to Tang? They began to murmur amongst themselves, questioning whether Tang was even worthy of their allegiance. They had all witnessed Cheng Chumo's inspection of the troops. Confronting him was tantamount to courting death. Listen to me. I am Fu Jiang, and I will bring fortune to you, he proclaimed. Some soldiers began to echo him, while others followed suit. The soldiers, lacking understanding, simply followed their commander's lead. Fu Jiang knelt on one knee, bowing towards the south, where Cheng Chumo's flag was just visible. Soon, the main force appeared within the soldiers' line of sight. Seeing Fu Jiang kneeling, the Turkic soldiers dismounted, mimicking his actions. The two armies were now only 100 meters apart. Cheng Chumo approached on horseback. True to his character, he would have condemned these men to death. However, for the greater good, he relinquished that notion. Rise, Cheng Chumo commanded. Fu Jiang stood, followed by the Turkic soldiers. Enter the city, Cheng Chumo instructed. Fu Jiang complied, directing the Turkic soldiers to return to the city. As Cheng Chumo entered the capital, all were left in stunned silence. Fu Jiang, following Cheng Chumo like a subordinate, made it clear to everyone that he was indeed Cheng Chumo's man. Upon entering the palace, the Turkic king faced Cheng Chumo, then glanced at Fu Jiang. I never anticipated that the greatest traitor would be you, the Turkic king remarked. Fu Jiang smiled nonchalantly. Seal all the city gates. No one is to leave, he commanded. Cheng Chumo strolled through the royal palace, hands clasped behind his back, without the company of his trusted aide. The Turkic king walked alongside him. Life on the grasslands is splendid. I fail to comprehend why you persist in tormenting the people of the Central Plains, Cheng Chumo remarked. Pausing to gaze at the Turkic monarch. Victory belongs to the strong. You are the victor now, and thus, anything you say is deemed correct, the Turkic king replied. Cheng Chumo shook his head, asserting, every cause has its consequence. Your retribution stands before you in the form of me. One of your royal lineage may live. You may choose, and the rest, you shall slay. I, Cheng Chumo, am steeped in sins and wish not to wield the blade again. The Turkic king's eyes blazed with a fierce crimson, fixating intently on Cheng Chumo, who felt disdain in his heart. The once mighty king now appeared diminished. Do not look at me with such intensity. It serves no purpose. Should you falter in your choice, I shall assist you. Slaughter is simple enough, Cheng Chumo declared, resuming his leisurely stroll. His special forces trailed him at a distance. My horseman, Hantu, had his wife taken by your aide. Every action has a reaction. Control the families of your aide. Detain his wife for the years he has been separated from Hantu, Cheng Chumo instructed. This was a means of subjugating the aide. His family would serve as hostages. Cheng Chumo, ever cautious, would not place his trust in anyone without cause. The special forces acknowledged this. After touring the palace, Cheng Chumo began to explore the city. Along the way, banners of the Tang army fluttered. They employ this tactic as well, he chuckled, finding amusement in its cleverness. Upon seeing Cheng Chumo, the Turkic citizens kept their distance, some weeping inconsolably. The Tang army has finally invaded. The good days for the Tang people have arrived, they lamented. Indeed, their days of prosperity are upon them. Cheng Chumo commanded his aide to distribute provisions and check lineage, declaring that anyone with Tang ancestry should be rewarded. A ragged little girl, no more than 7, approached him, arms outstretched as she blocked his path. Can you save my mother? She pleaded, her voice quivering with tears. Chapter 234. The slaughter of 70,000. Cheng Chumo knelt before the child. What has happened to your mother? He inquired. She has been taken by her master. The girl sobbed. Enraged, Cheng Chumo grasped her hand. Take me to her, he commanded. The girl led him to a courtyard, where a man emerged, laughing heartily. Inside, a woman lay on the ground, rising to collide with the man before leaping into a well. Cheng Chumo, taken aback, had no time to regard the Turkic man. He jumped into the well, attempting to rescue her, but she was already lifeless, having struck her head against the stones. The girl clutched her mother's body, weeping. While Cheng Chumo trembled with fury, he had intended to grant the Turkic people a chance at redemption. In that moment, he could scarcely fathom the suffering endured by the Tang people at the hands of their tormentors. Taking a deep breath, he could no longer suppress his rage. He demanded a list from his aide, declaring, purge the city. Ultimately, Cheng Chumo raised his blade. He lifted the girl into his arms. Where is your father? He asked. The child, now a mere shadow of her former self, replied, my father has worked himself to death. Cheng Chumo's eyes blazed with fury as he held the girl tightly. From this day forth, you shall be my child. Remember those Turkic people, they all deserve death, he declared coldly, turning to the Turkic man. Throw him into the well. With a single command, the special forces cast the Turkic man into the depths of the well, sealing it shut. They buried the woman's remains. And Chung Chumo departed with the girl in his arms. 3 days later, his aide presented him with the list. Chung Chumo tossed it to Zhang Daliang. Proceed with the slaughter, house by house. I will not permit a single Turkic soul to survive, he ordered. Zhang Daliang acknowledged the command, secretly acknowledging the grim reality. With each territory Chung Chumo captured, a massacre ensued, even within the military camp. The aide gasped in horror. Divine General, you once promised me you would spare them. He stammered. Get lost. Who told you to seek me out? Slaughter them all. If you continue to complain, you'll meet the same fate, Chung Chumo retorted. Sweeping away as the armies brandished their blades. 200,000 Turkic civilians and 250,000 Turkic soldiers were slaughtered. The entire Turkic royal city was transformed into a desolate wasteland. The Western Turkic king took his own life, as did the king's brother. Every member of the royal family was exterminated, none spared. The news spread like wildfire, shaking the world. In Chang'an, Li Tai stared blankly at the memorial. The courtiers bowed their heads, trembling with fear. 70,000 lives had been extinguished, not a single soul remaining. Is Chung Chumo even human? Li Tai questioned, his hands shaking as he dropped the memorial. He has killed 70,000, he murmured, feeling inadequate compared to Chung Chumo's ruthlessness. Would the grasslands be drenched in blood? Would they mourn? In Ganlu Palace, Wu Meinyang fed Li Shimin rice porridge. He nodded, indicating he was full, as she wiped his mouth. I have heard that Chung Chumo has slaughtered the Turkic royal city, with 70,000 lives lost, she said, her voice trembling. Li Shimin's eyes widened. 70,000. Does he not fear retribution? He exclaimed, astonished that Chung Chumo would commit such an atrocity. According to his strategy, there would have been cooperation from within, allowing the Western Turks to be easily subdued. The Western Turks would become part of the Tang territory without bloodshed. An emperor might not care about the hatred of the populace, but Chung Chumo did. Your Majesty, I shall return to my research. I have already recruited 1,000 people. If there are no results in a few days, I will recruit another 1,000, Wu Meinyang stated before departing. Her plan was straightforward. More hands would yield greater strength. And perhaps one among them would make a breakthrough. After all, true talent often resided among the common folk. Li Shimin chuckled silently, finding humor in the situation. Chung Chumo had merely shot himself in the foot, and Wu Meinyang was proving to be quite extravagant. Yuan Tiangang entered, stating, Chung Chumo's slaughter of 70,000 will surely invite divine retribution. He will likely leave no descendants. Li Shimin chuckled, feeling in good spirits. Choosing not to respond as talking was exhausting. Yuan Tiangang added silently that to have descendants was simple. He merely needed to marry a queen, and that would suffice. The queen could bear him a child, and her virtue would have the power to suppress Chung Chumo's bloodshed. Only a virtuous queen could bear children for Chung Chumo. Otherwise, the violent karma would prevent it. Upon hearing the news, the small nations surrounding the Tang were left dumbfounded. Their first course of action was to pay tribute, offering tenfold the usual tribute. They were determined not to allow Chung Chumo to continue his rampage. The collective sentiment among these nations was clear. They must persuade the Tang emperor to rein Chung Chumo in. The slaughter must cease. The Western Turks, though formidable, could not withstand the onslaught of Chung Chumo. The claim of 70,000 slain. Can such a feat truly be accomplished by mortals? At this moment, Chung Chumo was oblivious to the silence he had imposed upon the realm, as he scoured the grasslands in search of the Tiela army. Fu General, where might the Tiela tribe be? Chung Chumo inquired. Fu General, with a pained expression, lamented that his wife had been taken captive, a treasure he held dear. As he aged, his affection for her deepened, and he fervently hoped for the safe arrival of their child. Yet, the very coachman of Chung Chumo was his adversary. He had once stolen this man's wife, and now his own was seized by another. Divine General, let us continue our search. I am at a loss as to their whereabouts, Fu General said, glancing at the stoic Han Tu ahead. When I took your wife, I did not lay a finger on her. She was with child at the time, and I merely sought to boast, Fu General explained. Fearful that Han Tu might harm his wife, who was now considerably pregnant. Han Tu, with a cold demeanor, retorted, what business is it of yours? I shall do as I please. He sought to intimidate Fu General, who turned to Chung Chumo with a beseeching look. Chung Chumo remained unmoved. What did you expect? You took another's wife, and now you cannot bear the consequences when yours is taken. If you fear losing what you've taken, do not take what belongs to others. A special soldier caught up with Chung Chumo. My lord, that woman is a handmaiden of Empress Changsun, he reported, having recognized her. Chung Chumo, intrigued, commanded, bring her forth for questioning. The soldier complied, leading the woman, who lowered her gaze, unable to meet Chung Chumo's eyes. Why did you marry Fu General? He asked. The woman hesitated, knowing she could not speak freely. Fu General had already made his decision to align himself with Chung Chumo, a plan orchestrated by the current emperor Li Shimin 2 years prior. Fu General confirmed this. Chung Chumo nodded, reflecting on Li Shimin's foresight. No wonder Fu General cooperated. It was evident that Li Shimin had long harbored ambitions to conquer the Western Turks. You may go back. As a married woman, you must fulfill your duties. Reporting such matters is not suited for you. Even if not for yourself, consider your child, Chung Chumo advised. The handmaiden would be kept in Fufeng County or Gansu. to ensure her silence on matters that must remain undisclosed to Li Shimin, particularly regarding emerging technology. Li Shimin may be incapacitated, but he was not dead. As long as he lived, he must not be underestimated. Chapter 235. Return to Gansu. The handmaiden nodded gently, understanding Cheng Chumo's implication. Should she divulge his affairs to Li Shimin, she would face death, along with her child. The entire army shall encamp. Fetch paper and ink, Cheng Chumo commanded. The special soldier complied, and Cheng Chumo began to compose a letter. He did not wish to continue searching for the Tiela tribe. It was too arduous. Instead, he penned a missive instructing them to vacate their homeland, permitting their passage toward the Arabian Empire. Should they fail to comply within the stipulated time, their clan would face annihilation. After completing the letter, he entrusted it to the special soldier. Cheng Chumo resolved to drive the tiger to swallow the wolf. Engaging directly with the Arabian Empire was fraught with uncertainties. It was preferable to let the Tiela tribe perish in the process, sparing him any sorrow, while simultaneously depleting the strength of the Arabian Empire. If the Tiela tribe proved inadequate, then their demise would be just. After a few days of rest, the contingent advanced towards the Great Stone Kingdom, for it was time to acquire oil. As before, they employed their old strategy of slaughter. Certain locales had been deserted. The inhabitants fled before Cheng Chumo's arrival, headed toward the Arabian Empire. The grasslands were strikingly pristine. "My lord, this land shall soon belong to us," Fu General exclaimed. Having gathered a considerable number of Tang individuals, now totaling 10,000, Fu General managed their arrangements independently, with Cheng Chumo refraining from involvement. As long as there was mutton to eat in the future. Upon reaching the border of the Great Stone Kingdom, Cheng Chumo encountered the son of a familiar lord, who presented a sign upon sighting him. Cheng Chumo smiled at the sign, recalling that he had gifted it to the commander of the Great Stone Kingdom. "Where is your father?" Cheng Chumo inquired. The young man's expression darkened. "He has been deceased for many years, General. Shortly after your departure, the Turkic prince led men to kill my father to quell the wrath of the Western Turks," he replied. Cheng Chumo sighed inwardly, acknowledging his share of responsibility. He placed a reassuring hand on the young man's shoulder. "Do not worry, your father's favor remains. As long as you mention it, I, Cheng Chumo, shall assist you." The young man was overjoyed, having endured hardship in the Great Stone Kingdom, often facing ostracism. "Uncle, please allow me in," he implored. The term uncle momentarily took Cheng Chumo aback. Was he truly of such age? Time flies, and he was now approaching his 30s. Cheng Chumo entered the city of Great Stone Kingdom, where stone was abundant, paving the streets and constructing the lord's residence. "This place is quite admirable," Cheng Chumo remarked. The young man blushed, responding, "We are impoverished, reduced to mere stones. However, we do have some edible provisions, including game." He hurriedly arranged a feast. During the evening banquet, Cheng Chumo sat at a stone table, with a young girl on his left and the young man on his right. "Father, may I eat?" the girl asked. Her big eyes filled with anticipation, eyeing the golden brown roasted bird. Cheng Chumo tore off a leg, urging, "Little An, eat well, have plenty." The girl's name was Cheng Ping'an. Li Ku was speechless, noting Cheng Chumo's remarkable talent for naming, even bestowing such a name upon a girl. As the handmaiden presented the staple food, roasted flatbread, Cheng Chumo took a few bites and wiped his mouth. "You have much of that black substance here, do you not?" he queried. The young man nodded. Cheng Chumo smiled. He would finally acquire oil. "Have people construct wooden barrels, as many as possible, about a man's height," he instructed. The young man agreed. Though he was unaware of Cheng Chumo's intent, he simply wanted to assist. "I will not take your goods without offering something in return. Speak of what you desire," Cheng Chumo continued. The young man's face lit up with joy. "Uncle, the Great Stone Kingdom lacks grain. Would you permit trade with the Great Stone Kingdom? Our people are strong and willing to work hard," he suggested. Cheng Chumo silently approved. This young man had potential. "Very well. The Tang has ample grain. In the future, you can transport that black substance to Gansu in exchange for grain. I will ensure you receive a fair price." "You shall not suffer loss," Cheng Chumo assured him. The young man spoke sincerely, especially with his offer of labor. Being a worker was not easy, and Cheng Chumo believed in treating them well, refusing to engage in unscrupulous dealings. "I can assist," Fu General added. He was acutely aware that he would inevitably remain on the grasslands, now rendered barren by Cheng Chumo's ruthless actions, leaving behind a multitude of cattle and sheep. With idle time at hand, he contemplated sending some items to earn a little money. Cheng Chumo nodded in agreement. The Great Stone Kingdom likely possessed few horses. He would enlist Fu Zhang's assistance. The modest banquet concluded, and Cheng Chumo retreated to his chamber to rest. "My lord, a memorial from Chang'an has arrived," reported the Special Forces soldier. Cheng Ping'an stood to retrieve it. She feared sleeping alone, preferring the company of Cheng Chumo. Upon opening the door, she said, "Special Forces uncle, please hand me the memorial. Father has already retired for the night." The soldier gazed affectionately at Cheng Ping'an, stroking her cherubic face. Her cheeks flushed as she recalled her mother's admonition against being touched by men. "Uncle, please refrain from touching my face," she implored. The soldier chuckled heartily, promising not to touch her face again before departing. Cheng Ping'an closed the door and delivered the letter to Cheng Chumo, who opened it to read. "Surrounding nations are once again sending tributes, hoping you will cease your conquests. I wonder what my brother-in-law thinks. I believe the objectives of this campaign have been achieved. It is time for my brother-in-law to return home. After reading, Cheng Chumo handed the memorial to Cheng Pinyin for her amusement, pondering what to do upon returning. Upon learning of Li Shimin's arrangements concerning the Western Turks, Cheng Chumo grew increasingly vigilant. Li Shimin was not one to concede defeat. What measures would he employ? Was it possible that Li Shimin had already recovered, merely feigning illness? Was there truly only one Snow Lotus on Tianshan? A report, Old Mo brings a letter, announced the soldier as he returned. Cheng Pinyin was once again the one to retrieve it. Cheng Chumo opened the letter to find alarming news. Princess Changle is gravely ill. The divine physician has examined her and found no remedy. Cheng Chumo felt as though the ground had shifted beneath him. He suddenly remembered that Li Lizzie's time was drawing near. Did he possess the ability to save her? When Empress Changsun fell ill, the divine physician had treated her for 3 years, identifying her ailment early on. What of Li Lizzie? Only now, at death's door, was her condition recognized. Bring forth the men, we shall return to Chang'an. The army will be stationed in Gansu, Cheng Chumo commanded, his voice trembling. The special forces soldier acknowledged. Cheng Chumo mounted his horse, entrusting Cheng Pinyin to Li Ku. Be a good girl. Father has urgent matters to attend to. Stay close to him, all right? Cheng Chumo reassured her. Cheng Pinyin nodded obediently. Cheng Chumo galloped back to the Tang dynasty, the special forces trailing closely behind. Throughout the journey, he berated himself, lamenting that he should have anticipated this, that he should never have overlooked such a crucial matter. He exchanged horses but not riders, exhausting countless steeds along the way. Upon entering Gansu, a contingent of soldiers obstructed Cheng Chumo's path. Gansu is under martial law. Turn back, they commanded fiercely. Cheng Chumo had no desire to resort to violence. He was uncertain of the situation. What if this was an arrangement by Empress Changsun? Who do you serve? He inquired. Prince of Jiangxia. A soldier replied with an air of arrogance. So it was Li Daozong's troops. What was he doing in Gansu? What was the situation? As chapter 236 unfolds. Return to the fief. Love whomever you will. Cheng Chumo unsheathed his bronze sword, prepared to engage them. Just as he was about to act, a one-armed maid on horseback arrived. The special forces soldier caught up to Cheng Chumo. Is someone obstructing our lord? This is courting death. Attack, commanded the special forces leader. Charging forward. The one-armed maid was left speechless. She had come to prevent a bloodbath, yet the special forces showed no restraint. They slaughtered without hesitation. This was an extreme display of their prowess. Soon, the area was cleared. Cheng Chumo turned to the one-armed maid, his eyes bloodshot. He was uncertain how long it had been since he had dismounted for rest. The one-armed maid's steed fidgeted restlessly, eager to flee. Terrified, her face turned pale. It was not merely fear of death. Cheng Chumo was terrifying. Being scrutinized by him felt akin to being encircled by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. His crimson eyes shattered her innocent psyche. Cheng Chumo closed his eyes. Only then did the one-armed maid feel some relief. The mistress requests you return to the waterside villa. She stammered. Though Cheng Chumo was in a state of frantic urgency, he decided to go to the villa. He feared he would not endure long enough to reach Chang'an in his current condition. Upon returning to the villa, he lay on the bed, questioning. Why did you bring me back? He did not open his eyes, for his gaze was fearsome. Empress Changsun gently pressed his temples, contemplating whether to inform him of the situation. Remembering how he had always neglected Lizzie, she resolved against revealing the truth. He only bullies Lizzie when he visits and leaves immediately afterward. He must be taught a lesson. Lizzie had the divine physician to safeguard her for the time being. There was no immediate danger. Rest for a few days. Do not wear your body down, Empress Changsun advised softly. Cheng Chumo opened his eyes. The blood-red hue did not faze Empress Changsun. She looked at him with compassion. Please, close your eyes and sleep. Once you have regained your strength, we can journey to Chang'an. The distance is considerable, she said, her tone imbued with concern. Cheng Chumo complied, falling silent as fatigue enveloped him, leading him swiftly into slumber. Empress Changsun rose, and Wu Shun along with Li Qingwen entered. They had just been standing at the door. Unafraid of Cheng Chumo's gaze, they were concerned for him. Sister, why not tell our lord? He is in such a pitiable state, Wu Shun remarked, tears welling in her eyes. Indeed, will he punish us once he learns? This is no trivial matter, added Li Qingwen. Empress Changsun's expression remained as placid as water. As long as Lizzie lives, she will always be Changsun Chang's wife. Let her die once, it would be for the best. You must not inform Chumo, she declared. What if we tell Cheng Chumo, and he acts? This is an excellent opportunity. I cannot bear to see Lizzie suffer in Chang'an. The two women nodded in agreement. Empress Changsun wrinkled her nose, casting a glance at the slumbering Cheng Chumo. This odor is truly unbearable. Qingwen, draw a bath. Shunner, help me assist Cheng Chumo in bathing. Will he awaken? Li Qingwen asked. Not at all. He wouldn't wake even if the house collapsed, Empress Changsun replied. Wu Shun chuckled softly at the side. As dawn broke, Cheng Chumo awoke, donned his garments, and stepped outside, remaining silent. Empress Changsun watched him mount his horse and depart, then turned to the one-armed maid. Inform Li Daozong to vacate Gansu. Otherwise, he shall bear the consequences, she ordered. Li Daozong was escorting the bride. Princess Wensheng had already entered Tubo's territory. Seeing the developments in Gansu, Li Daozong had become greedy. He was now exceedingly arrogant, enjoying the favor of Songzhan Ganbu, with Li Tai reluctant to provoke him. The ministers catered to him, and he felt invincible. The one-armed maid arrived at the Gansu government office, situated 50 miles from Shiqing, in the northwestern direction. She encountered Li Daozong, who was informed by his mistress to expel her from Gansu. The one-armed maid stated boldly, causing Li Daozong's expression to darken. He could scarcely contain his fury at her audacity. He was well aware of the identity of the mistress she referred to, a clandestine secret. Your mistress is overstepping her bounds, Li Daozong remarked. The one-armed maid cast a dispassionate glance at him, unperturbed by the threat to her life. A fool is beyond reason. Does she truly believe that marrying into Tubo grants her freedom to act as she pleases? Such status may hold weight in the Tang dynasty, but here it is worthless. Even Songzan Ganbu holds no significance in Qing Chumo's eyes. The one-armed maid departed, leaving Li Daozong with a cold smirk. How dare a deceased woman attempt to intimidate him? My brother-in-law has remarkable skills. Once we seize Gansu, wealth will flow abundantly, He Zongxian commented, and the two shared a hearty laugh. They were undeterred by Qing Chumo, thanks to a letter from Li Shimin. In Chang'an, Princess Chang'el's fief awaited Qing Chumo, who had finally returned after traversing 1,000 miles. Lao Mo, stationed at the fief, greeted him with palpable anxiety. Master, you have finally returned, he exclaimed. Concern etched on his face as he reported that Li Lizzie's health was deteriorating by the day. Qing Chumo said little, rushing to the room where Li Lizzie lay, her complexion pallid. His heart ached as he stumbled to her bedside, grasping her hand. Lizzie, I am back, he whispered. Li Lizzie slowly opened her eyes. Wishing to smile, but finding it impossible. She longed to hold Qing Chumo's hand tightly, yet could not. She could only gaze at him with deep affection. Prince Consort, seeing you is truly a comfort, she murmured, her voice weak and weary. Qing Chumo's dry eyes welled with tears, his throat choked with unspoken words. Do not be distressed. I am content to see you one last time, Li Lizzie reassured him. The divine physician will surely heal you. You need not fear. Qing Chumo, after speaking, gently tucked Li Lizzie's hand beneath the covers, wiped his eyes, and stepped outside. Beneath the windmill, Sun Simiao, Yuan Tiangang, and Long Gui engaged in conversation. Qing Chumo, not dwelling on why Yuan Tiangang was present, turned to the divine physician with a face full of beseeching. I implore you, please save Lizzie. Whatever medicinal ingredients you need, I will procure them, he pleaded, placing his faith in Sun Simiao as his lifeline, convinced that the physician would devise a solution, having already surpassed his previous limits in medical skill. Long Gui, witnessing Qing Chumo's distress, felt a pang of sympathy, but was silenced by Sun Simiao's forbidding gaze. Do not utter a word, Sun Simiao warned Long Gui, who appeared pale and disheartened. Defeated, he sighed. The pieces were stolen by me, admitting to a long-standing dispute. Today, he was compelled to confess his theft, though he remained innocent of wrongdoing. For the sake of his disciple, he conceded. Sun Simiao regarded Long Gui with faint amusement. This matter has long slipped my mind. You wouldn't be attempting to deceive me with it, would you? He replied, inwardly reveling at the irony. You think you can bully me? You may be wealthy, yet now find yourselves at my mercy. The consequences of crossing a physician were dire. I regret to say that I cannot assist. I am at a loss. You should spend her remaining days with her, Sun Simiao concluded. Long Gui yearned to speak the truth, but Sun Simiao's fierce glare made it clear that any attempt would result in failure to save her. Resigned, Long Gui shot a glance at his disciple, vowing to retaliate against Sun Simiao in the future. Qing Chumo forced a bitter smile as he clasped his hands in front of Sun Simiao. His earlier mischief towards the physician was merely playful, devoid of malice. Yet the physician held a grudge. Sun Simiao relished the moment, boasting, You see the worth of my services now? Long Gui, incensed, pointed an accusatory finger at Sun Simiao. You have the audacity to claim a little expenditure after spending over $1 million in a month. Have you no shame? If you are so affluent, why not refrain from spending? He retorted, spitting as he spoke. Sun Simiao wiped his face, grimacing at the offensive odor. You may choose not to spend, he replied, as Long Gui's chest rose and fell with frustration. Enough of this bickering, the medicine is prepared. When shall we commence? Yuan Tiangang interjected. Having come to collaborate with Sun Simiao, he had observed alchemists at work and recognized their potential. Together with Sun Simiao's understanding of medicinal efficacy, they felt confident in their ability to concoct elixirs. Even if immortality was unattainable, extending life was certainly within reach. Long Gui and Sun Simiao exchanged sympathetic glances with Yuan Tiangang, who lowered his head, burdened with bitterness. The disparity was evident. Others thrived while he languished. The Taoist community could not afford to falter. He was obligated to serve Li Shimin. The final secret edict from Li Shimin loomed. If he did not reach a natural end, the existence of the Taoist sect would be rendered unnecessary. The one most fearful of Li Shimin's demise was none other than Yuan Tiangang, who felt the weight of this grim reality. Inwardly seething, he resolved not to let Li Shimin's machinations ensnare him, vowing that he would not be outmaneuvered. Yuan Tiangang, skilled in strategy, plotted an ambitious scheme requiring Cheng Yaojin's cooperation. The Tang dynasty was destined to perish, and he had already chosen his pawn, Wu Mingyang. Once Li Shimin was gone, his plans would unfold, and the entire Taoist sect would align in support. One must not underestimate the Taoists. Their influence could be formidable. While genuine Taoists were few, their followers were numerous. In times of prosperity, the Buddhist faith flourished while the Taoists remained hidden, yet in chaos, the Taoists would rise. Long Gui patted Yuan Tiangang on the shoulder, and Sun Simiao did the same, shaking their heads in camaraderie. At that moment, the two elderly men were united, leaving Yuan Tiangang behind, who felt a pang of envy at their bond. One moment they were at odds, the next as harmonious as one. Shaking his head, he thought, Li Shimin, await your fate. I, Yuan Tiangang, am not easily trifled with. He gazed at Cheng Chumo's retreating figure, determination forming in his heart. Cheng Chumo entered Li Lizi's room, forcing a smile as he sat beside her on the bed. Do not worry. All will be well, he assured her. Though his smile was more sorrowful than a frown. The prince consort, I wish to ride a horse. Would you accompany me? Cheng Chumo nodded and lifted Li Lizi, instructing. Prepare the horse. The two mounted, with Cheng Chumo holding Li Lizi closely as the steed ambled leisurely through the territory. Prince consort, after I depart, please take care of my sister, Li Lizi urged, her greatest concern resting upon the fate of Zizi. She refrained from mentioning Empress Changsan, knowing her mother was well. Cheng Chumo avoided the subject, and so she too chose not to broach it. Cheng Chumo nodded, and the warhorse quickened its pace. A tear slipped from the corner of his eye. Li Lizi gritted her teeth and opened her arms wide. Cheng Chumo encircled her waist, reminiscent of their first horseback ride together. How youthful we were then, she mused. Prince consort, speed up, she urged. The horse accelerated once more, and gradually the world around them faded into silence, leaving only the two of them untouched by external influences. The steed came to a halt, and Li Lizi's arms fell limply at her sides. I shall not enter the Changsun family tomb, she declared, resting her small head against Cheng Chumo's chest. She fell silent. Cheng Chumo's eyes clouded with tears, leaving faint trails upon his face as he nodded vigorously. Very well, we shall go to the Cheng family tomb, he replied. He could not bring himself to accept that Li Lizi had departed. He simply would not believe it. Go. The horse galloped, the cool breeze brushing away his tears. At the Chang'an residence of the Changsun family, Cheng Chumo rode up to the entrance. Summon Changsun Wuji to meet me, he commanded coldly, his gaze chilling enough to instill fear. The household servants hurried to deliver the message. Changsun Wuji dared not refuse Cheng Chumo's summons. Stepping out of the estate and bowing slightly. Greetings, Prince of Cheng, he said, unable to meet Cheng Chumo's eyes. Once, he had the power to rival Cheng Chumo. Emboldened by Li Shimin's strength, he had dared to report on Cheng Chumo's actions. Now, he felt unworthy and intimidated. Without Empress Changsun, his family would not enjoy such tranquility. From this day forth, Princess Chang Lu and Changsun Cheng will have no further ties, Cheng Chumo declared. Changsun Wuji acquiesced, producing a marriage certificate adorned with a jade seal. And, before Cheng Chumo, he tore it asunder, bowing his head. Is this satisfactory to the Prince of Cheng? He had long devised this plan to preserve Changsun Cheng and the Changsun family. He felt he had no choice. Better to suffer humiliation than to lose his life. Cheng Chumo had no grounds to linger further, leaving on horseback. Upon returning to his territory, he found Long Gui and Sun Simiao awaiting him. Your mother wishes for you to be interred in Gansu. She desires to see you one last time, Sun Simiao said, his words laced with a hint of joy. Cheng Chumo felt no inclination to ponder Sun Simiao's disposition. Dismounting, he cradled Li Lizi in his arms. Sun Simiao approached Li Lizi and pried her lips apart. What are you doing? Cheng Chumo glared at Sun Simiao. Sun Simiao stepped back, taking a deep breath, fearful of Cheng Chumo's gaze. It was understandable. To command the slaughter of 700,000 would evoke such an expression. The infamous General Bai Qi had only executed 400,000 Zhao troops. The mere mention of Bai Qi sent shivers down the spine. Cheng Chumo's 700,000 transcended Bai Qi's record. Long Gui supported Sun Simiao as he handed a black pill to her, who then placed it into Li Lizi's mouth. Cheng Chumo bowed to the two and lifted Li Lizi onto the carriage. I shall escort her, he declared, leading the horse away. Old son, don't you think this is excessive? Long Gui questioned. Sun Simiao remained silent, knowing Cheng Chumo's eyes did not lie. The murderous intent in his gaze was unmistakable. Without Long Gui's presence, Sun Simiao suspected Cheng Chumo might eliminate him. Such was the nature of a doctor. If they succeeded, they were praised, but if they failed, they were scorned. What I say has no connection to the modern era. In ancient times, a physician valued their reputation. They ought to be compensated fairly for genuinely saving lives. Yet, the true fear lies with quacks masquerading as healers, Sun Simiao remarked. In Cheng Chumo's eyes, Sun Simiao was a quack, having squandered countless resources yet ultimately proving ineffective. This is not my concern. It was all entrusted to that little girl, Wugo, Sun Simiao asserted. Long Gui felt a surge of anger. Wugo was indeed deserving of a lesson. What would Cheng Chumo do upon discovering her actions? Chapter 238. Leisurely days Cheng Chumo drove the carriage, with Li Lizi lying flat within. A month later, he found it perplexing that Li Lizi appeared unchanged, as if in a deep slumber. Could it be that Sun Simiao had administered a pill to preserve her body from decay? Cheng Chumo pondered to himself. We are nearly there, he announced, as if speaking to Li Lizi. Ahead lay a lakeside. I will cleanse you before we return, he vowed. The special forces stood with their backs, turned to Ching Chumo and Li Lizzie. Ching Chumo gently entered the water while cradling Li Lizzie, washing her with utmost care. Once clean, he dressed her in her favorite pink gown. "Let us depart," he said. The carriage finally returned to Gansu, where the three armies had already assembled. The Tianyuan left guard had returned to Ryu City, and the Shu army had returned to Sichuan, while only the Fufeng Jinbei army remained stationed at Shurqing. The carriage rolled into a lakeside villa, and Empress Changsun rushed out, lifting her skirts. Ching Chumo dismounted, carrying Li Lizzie. "Quickly, take her to bed," Empress Changsun urged. Though aware that Li Lizzie feigned death, seeing her in such a state still brought tears to her eyes. Ching Chumo carried Li Lizzie into the room. "Chumo, you must step outside," Empress Changsun insisted. Ching Chumo was reluctant to leave. He wished to remain by Li Lizzie's side, for such moments were fleeting, and she would eventually find her final resting place. Empress Changsun was resolute, and after much persuasion, she finally convinced Ching Chumo to exit the room. Once he departed, Empress Changsun hurriedly retrieved a pill and administered it to Li Lizzie. After some time, Li Lizzie opened her eyes and lunged into her mother's embrace, sobbing. "Hush now. Do not cry. Your face will become a mess," Empress Changsun said, wiping the tears from Li Lizzie's cheeks. Li Lizzie's face flushed, and she stammered, struggling to find her words. Empress Changsun, concerned, asked, "What is the matter, my dear? Do you feel unwell?" Li Lizzie summoned her courage to gaze at Empress Changsun. "Should I call you sister or mother?" she queried, quickly lowering her head. Empress Changsun was taken aback. It was indeed a profound question. After a lengthy pause, she found herself at a loss. "Call me sister, then," Li Lizzie suggested, looking up playfully at Empress Changsun. Empress Changsun smiled wryly, thinking to herself how peculiar this felt. "Very well, let it be so," she replied. "I still find it strange. I must seek out the prince consort," Li Lizzie declared. The Empress Zhangsuan's gaze shifted, revealing her anxiety. She indeed educated Ching Chumo, but what now? "I am quite tired. You may leave," the Empress remarked, resolving to withdraw from the situation. Li Lizzie nodded, lifted her skirts, and dashed out of the room. At that moment, Ching Chumo was squatting at the door, looking haggard with reddened eyes. When Li Lizzie emerged, Ching Chumo did not look up, assuming it was the Empress. Li Lizzie crouched beside him and whispered in his ear, "Prince consort." Ching Chumo jolted. Disbelief etched on his face as he gazed at Li Lizzie. His emotions were indescribable. Was it disbelief or joy? Perhaps a mix of both. He embraced Li Lizzie tightly, and she appeared elated, feeling liberated. From that moment, there would be no more Princess Changle, and she would no longer be the wife of Zhang Sun Chong. She patted Ching Chumo's back, saying, "Don't be sad. See, I am fine." They conversed for a long time, but once Ching Chumo realized he had been played, a sardonic smile crossed his face as he took her hand and led her back into the room. A large lump was visible on the bed, where the Empress Zhang Sun was concealed beneath the covers. Upon hearing their footsteps, her body instinctively trembled. "Oh no, Guanyin maid, do you not wish to explain yourself?" Ching Chumo inquired. The Empress remained silent, refusing to emerge from her hiding place. Ching Chumo charged at her, and soon cries for help echoed from under the covers. After a while, the Empress, rubbing her backside, glared at Ching Chumo. "That was quite the punishment," she exclaimed. Ching Chumo scooped her up and tossed her onto the bed. Li Lizzie, with her head bowed, bit her lip in embarrassment at the awkward scene. Fortunately, Wu Shuan entered just in time, allowing Ching Chumo to relent. The Empress felt a surge of joy. This incident had been skillfully navigated. Initially furious, Ching Chumo pondered and decided against remaining angry. As long as Li Lizzie was unharmed, that was sufficient. Through inquiry, Ching Chumo learned why Li Lizzie was unscathed. It was due to a miraculous heart-saving pill. The Empress presented a small ceramic gourd filled with black pills. "If Lizzie feels unwell, just give her one, and she will be fine," she explained. "Is this the result of a divine physician's research? Then why was Lizzie unconscious?" Ching Chumo questioned. "Self-preservation. Lizzie has a very weak constitution and could not withstand the potency of the medicine. As for why she was unconscious for so long, I cannot say. It was all the doing of Sun Simiao," the Empress replied, wishing to avoid another beating. This matter was considered settled, and Ching Chumo would not question Sun Simiao, as he had saved Li Lizzie, which was enough. The value of a person determines the extent of a leader's tolerance, and Sun Simiao's worth granted him Ching Chumo's boundless forbearance. The Empress Zhang Sun moved to prepare a meal, with the other women following suit. Ching Chumo made his way to the waterside pavilion, reclining on a bamboo chair, closing his eyes to rest after a taxing period. A refreshing breeze swept over him, bringing a sense of tranquility. When the meal was ready, it was a lavish spread. Wu Shuan and others brought the dishes to the pavilion, where Ching Chumo sat up to eat. The Empress served him vegetables, and he indulged heartily. "Delicious," he praised. "Can you guess who made this?" she asked with a beaming smile. Ching Chumo surveyed the surroundings. "Lizzie made it," he deduced. The Empress shook her head. "Guanyin maid made it," he guessed again. She again denied it. Ching Chumo turned to Wu Shuan. "Did Shun make it?" he inquired. Another shake of the head. After exhausting all his guesses, Ching Chumo's face darkened. The Empress chuckled lightly. "We made it together," she revealed. The women stifled their laughter. Ching Chumo was left speechless. This scene, though trivial, was filled with warmth and rare leisure. After the meal, the Empress began reciting poetry, while Ching Chumo fell into a deep, fragrant slumber. Mother, you are truly remarkable. You can even lull the prince consort to sleep with poetry, Li Lizzie remarked. The empress's expression darkened as she contemplated how to deal with Cheng Chumo in the future. In the early morning, Cheng Chumo rose early to practice martial arts. He gazed at the horse-drawn carriage, pondering when he could devise a generator. With current technology, it was possible to create light bulbs. As long as there was electricity, the lights could shine. Cheng Chumo also envisioned surpassing expectations by directly developing electric vehicles. Imagining a grand carriage powered by a generator, traversing the world. With determination, he set to work. The princess of Gaoyang had already researched rubber for tires. Bring me more rubber. The more, the better, and inquire if the temple has developed the generator, Cheng Chumo instructed a soldier. As he sketched designs with pen and paper, the Empress Zhang Sun peered over. Such a large carriage? How many horses could pull it? She queried. If horses cannot manage, we shall use elephants, Cheng Chumo replied, his eyes sparkling with inspiration. Indeed, if horses cannot pull it, we can use elephants. Summon tribute elephants from the vassal states of the Tang, he commanded, planning to create a vehicle to be drawn by elephants. Chapter 239, Leisure. The Empress Zhang Sun's brows furrowed slightly. How slow would that be? She chuckled. With elephants pulling the carriage, we might arrive in a decade or more. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened slightly. Upon reflection, the speed of an elephant is comparable to that of a tortoise, and if he were as large as a tortoise, it would be hard to determine who would arrive faster. Ernyu seeks an audience, the soldier announced. Cheng Chumo was taken aback. Ernyu had returned from his maritime journey? Time had flown by, and many years had passed. It was time for Ernyu to report back, as the ship had reached its service limit. Let him in, Cheng Chumo instructed, passing his brush to the Empress Zhang Sun. Draw me the kind of carriage you wish for, and I shall take care of its construction. He further suggested. If you cannot decide, leave it to someone else. That is a wise approach. The Empress stood frozen, holding the brush. Her heart swelling with joy as she resolved to create the carriage she adored. The ever-demanding Guanyin maid remained as meticulous as ever. Cheng Chumo strolled into the parlor, where Ernyu entered. Why do you look so dark? Cheng Chumo asked. How could I not be dark after days under the sun at sea? Ernyu replied, setting down a large bundle. Upon opening it, Cheng Chumo was greeted by a variety of seeds. Impressive. To have gathered so many seeds, what reward do you seek? Cheng Chumo exclaimed, his words laced with astonishment at Ernyu's capabilities. Ernyu scratched his head, grinning sheepishly. The ship can no longer sail far. Just give me 10 more large ships, and that will suffice, he stated. Sailing is his passion. While some are intoxicated by fame and fortune, and others pursue wealth and pleasure, Ernyu seeks the vast ocean, reaping the delightful surprises of crossing the seas. Very well, take a year off before you set sail, and I shall provide you with the finest warship, Cheng Chumo declared. Ernyu, overwhelmed with joy, nodded in gratitude. Are there chili seeds among these? He inquired. The chili seeds were specifically requested by Cheng Chumo, came the response as he pinched a small, flat seed between his fingers. This is it, Cheng Chumo asserted. Ernyu stared at it, unable to discern its spiciness, doubting the general's claims. You must be joking, General. Such a seed cannot be spicy, he retorted. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened, wishing to explain but unsure where to begin. A thought struck him. Where are you most vulnerable? He asked with a mischievous grin. Ernyu instinctively shielded his vital areas. You say it's not spicy? Dare to try it? Cheng Chumo challenged, his gaze disdainful, as if suggesting that Ernyu lacked the courage. Naturally, Ernyu was bold enough. He could lie in a puddle for eternity, abandoned and unmoved. I dare, he declared defiantly. Who does the general look down upon? Cheng Chumo placed the seed in Ernyu's palm. Place it on an egg and use a wrinkled skin to hold it down, he instructed. Ernyu glanced around and, with his back to Cheng Chumo, complied. Initially, there was no reaction. However, as the seed absorbed moisture, Ernyu's expression shifted dramatically, fear evident in his eyes as he looked to Cheng Chumo. General, save me. It hurts so much, he exclaimed. Ha ha. Cheng Chumo erupted in laughter, devoid of conscience. Is it spicy? He inquired. Ernyu nodded fervently. Brothers, do not attempt this. I have tried it, and the sensation is one of torment, unspeakably sour. After a cup of tea, the pain will subside. Consider this a lesson. Do not use an egg for experiments, Cheng Chumo advised. Ernyu felt wronged, thinking the general too devious. Had it not been for his prodding, he would never have attempted such a foolish experiment. He left with a mournful expression. Ha ha. Cheng Chumo collapsed onto the leather sofa, laughing heartily, devoid of shame. Empress Zhang Sun entered, clutching a blueprint and lifting her skirt with one hand. In the Tang dynasty, short skirts were not worn, shoulders could be exposed, but legs must remain covered. Chumo, look at this, she said, sitting on the sofa and presenting the blueprint before him. Cheng Chumo gazed at the drawings, his thoughts in disarray. 8 wheels, one side, a total of 16. The carriage is 2 meters high, 5 meters wide, and 13 meters long. This isn't a carriage. Even an elephant couldn't pull it. No, it's far too large to be practical, he stated emphatically. Are we to imitate Yang Guang and have thousands of people haul a dragon boat? Empress Zhang Sun felt as though a bucket of cold water had been poured over her, her expression darkening. I don't care. If you cannot manage it, you shall pull the carriage yourself. If you fail to produce results, you shall not come to my chamber tonight, she declared, her tone fierce. Cheng Chumo was at a loss for words, feeling bullied. Is it not possible for me to assist you? He offered. Empress Zhang Xuan's demeanor softened. She took Cheng Chumo's arm and fed him a grape. Do your best. Once completed, we shall go out to play, she encouraged. Cheng Chumo nodded as he consumed the grape. Let them come. Today we shall engage in farming, he announced. With an abundance of seeds to plant, he felt uneasy about others doing so. He could not bear to entrust this task to anyone else. Empress Zhang Sun was filled with joy, viewing farming as an enjoyable pastime to pass the time. Soon, the women arrived with tools, awaiting Cheng Chumo's guidance. He slung a heavy bag over his shoulder and made his way to the sunlit backyard to begin planting. Halfway through, he began to regret allowing the women to participate. They were all pampered and unaccustomed to hard labor, yet refused to yield. Empress Zhang Sun had developed several large blisters on her delicate hands, tears streaming down her face as she continued to dig. Cheng Chumo felt a pang of sorrow. Guanin's servant, you must take a break, he urged. I will not. She replied resolutely. Cheng Chumo, resigned, vowed never to involve them in such endeavors again. After finally planting all the seeds, he was nearly exhausted, having worked tirelessly to lessen the burden on the women. The wheelbarrow flew into action as Empress Zhang Sun silently offered him a purple handkerchief to wipe his sweat. Cheng Chumo straightened up to water the plants, tasking the women with this chore while he sat back, awaiting the tender sprouts to break through the soil. Upon returning to the villa, the women collapsed on the sofa, utterly spent, unwilling to move. Farmers truly endure great fatigue, Empress Zhang Sun remarked. They had only planted a small amount yet felt utterly drained, struggling to fathom the hardships faced by farmers. Cheng Chumo remained silent, aware of the farmers' toil, as he consumed the grains they cultivated, calling them farmers in gratitude. Those unfamiliar with the hardships of farming often perceive it as an effortless occupation. Much like Empress Zhang Xuan's initial attitude when she first picked up the farming tools. Agricultural experts require a red carpet to enter the fields. I still cannot comprehend this. He mused. Do agricultural experts fear the soil? Breaking news. The Silk Road is obstructed, and all merchants are petitioning in Shurqing, the one-armed maid reported. Cheng Chumo was left speechless, always beset by matters even when he sought leisure. Li Daozong has blocked the Silk Road and imposed taxes, with a rate of 70%. The one-armed maid continued. 70%. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. A 50% tax is already a heartless betrayal of our ancestors. For Li Daozong to impose 70%. It seems he seeks his own demise. Bring Li Daozong to me, he commanded. He will not come, the one-armed maid replied. Huh. A mere jester dares to act with impunity in Gansu, thinking I, Cheng Chumo, am benign? Take the special forces with you. Support the Fengfeng Jinbei army. I wish to see what he is capable of, Cheng Chumo declared, already harboring intentions of violence. Knowing Cheng Chumo was in Gansu, Li Daozong's audacity was astonishing. Chapter 240. Dealing with Li Daozong cannot be killed. The incorporation of Tubo into the Tang territory must be legitimate and aimed at pacifying the populace. Empress Zhang Sun remarked. Cheng Chumo wished to eliminate Li Daozong outright, but he knew that individuals like Li Daozong are not easily disposed of. Killing requires justification. The repercussions of unprovoked murder are far beyond Cheng Chumo's capacity to bear. If he were to kill without cause, what would individuals like Li Daozong think? It would likely incite rebellion, throwing the Tang dynasty into chaos. Even if Cheng Chumo were a formidable fighter, he could not manage such turmoil indefinitely. Huh. Cheng Chumo suddenly chuckled coldly. Then I shall play with him, he resolved. The women looked at Cheng Chumo, curious about his intentions. Empress Zhang Sun displayed a satisfied smile. He had transformed from a fool to a cunning fox. This was a point of pride. Cheng Chumo was her creation. Suddenly, she felt an urge to sing a song that Cheng Chumo had taught her, melodious and captivating. How I long to return to my youthful days. Accompanied by music that inspires me to sing. It is a classic melody that transports me back to that world, Empress Zhang Sun sang softly. The women joined in harmony, their voices blending like a chorus of birds, a vibrant display of beauty. Cheng Chumo listened with rapt attention, unwilling to miss a single syllable. As the singing continued, the women began to weep, and Cheng Chumo comforted each one, a challenging task indeed. Huangmei opera tells a tale of sorrow, and it is entirely natural to weep upon understanding it. The one-armed maid remained silent. The matter concerning Li Daozong had yet to be resolved. After much coaxing, the women grew weary and fell asleep. Cheng Chumo led the one-armed maid outside to a pavilion. There, a giant panda clumsily attempted to catch fish. Failing to find even one, it lay on a floating bridge, splashing the water, while the fish playfully flicked their tails, sending droplets cascading onto the panda's face. The panda made a cheerful mia sound. It can rely on the fish to help cool itself. Why can't I? Mused Cheng Chumo. He commanded the special forces to apprehend Li Daozong and ordered the Fufeng Jinbei army to clear all troops in Gansu, declaring that only one army should remain. He instructed Li Bin to take over as the Grand Governor of Gansu. Go ahead, said Cheng Chumo. The one-armed maid complied. This journey was not without its challenges. And during this time, it was perfect for studying the carriage. Cheng Chumo recalled the carriage painted by Empress Chang Sun and smiled wryly to himself. It was quite a difficult task. He resolved to fulfill his promises, knowing that once trust is broken, it would be lost countless times, regardless of the individual involved. Cheng Chumo understood that his current status demanded a word of utmost authority, befitting of his position. Do not commit even the smallest of evils. Within half a month, Cheng Chumo fashioned a carriage. He utilized an exceptionally lightweight wood, encased in a thin layer of iron. The tires stood as high as a person. Sun He arrived in Shurcheng with materials to join the research, making things considerably easier. Cheng Chumo taught Sun He the principles of inertia. Sun He, a true expert in this field, omitted all unnecessary components, allowing the carriage to take shape swiftly. There were 8 tires, each 1 person high, equipped with inflatable rubber inner tubes and steel wire outer tires. Cheng Chumo procured 8 warhorses to test the carriage's pull. It was functional, though the 8 horsepower struggled. He added another 8 horses, which lightened the load considerably. Cheng Chumo breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally accomplished. He summoned Empress Changsun, who was overjoyed upon seeing the carriage, exclaiming in delight as she climbed aboard. She gathered the women to begin the decorations. Conscious of the need to keep the carriage from becoming overly burdensome, discarding all unnecessary items during the process. Once decorated, they commenced test driving. With 16 horses pulling in 4 rows of 4, the initial acceleration was somewhat laborious, but once in motion, the inertia mechanism made it effortless, and the horses galloped swiftly. Empress Changsun was thoroughly satisfied, eagerly awaiting Cheng Chumo to take them out for a ride. In the Shurcheng government office, Li Daozong stood face to face with Cheng Chumo, showing no sign of fear as he met Cheng Chumo's gaze directly. I see Prince Cheng, Li Daozong stated. Cheng Chumo assessed Li Daozong, acknowledging his boldness. Gansu is not a place for you to stir trouble. I am curious to know who granted you such courage, Cheng Chumo replied. Li Daozong, with his hands clasped behind his back, refrained from directly answering Cheng Chumo's inquiry. I plan to visit Tubo soon. If you have something to say, best say it quickly, he declared. Cheng Chumo found himself amused. Did Li Daozong think he could leverage Songzhan Ganbu against him? Did he believe Cheng Chumo would hesitate to offend Songzhan Ganbu due to potential interests in Tubo? Li Daozong indeed harbored such thoughts, believing that the Sun and Moon City, with only 50,000 troops, could instill fear in Tubo. How absurd. Tubo was no small nation, and a mere few thousand troops could not subdue it. Bring forth the Tianyuan left guard and detain Princess Wencheng. If Tubo desires her, let Songzhan Ganbu come personally, Cheng Chumo commanded. Li Daozong's eyes widened in disbelief. Did Cheng Chumo dare to take such a monumental risk as to detain Princess Wencheng? Did he not comprehend her significance? You, Li Daozong began. Cheng Chumo anticipated his words. Audacity often bordered on recklessness. Would he shrink in the face of Li Shimin? I shall give Songzhan Ganbu half a month. If he does not arrive within that time, then I regret to inform you. Princess Wencheng will remain in Sun and Moon City permanently, Cheng Chumo added, casting a cool glance at Li Daozong. With that, he departed. The special forces escorted Li Daozong away and placed him under house arrest. Cheng Chumo aimed to impart a crucial lesson to Li Daozong. While his connections may hold weight elsewhere, they bore no significance here. For Cheng Chumo himself was the strongest ally and the most formidable background. After a leisurely half-month, Songzhan Ganbu arrived in Gansu with gifts. At the waterside villa, Princess Chizuan stared in astonishment. Wu, my king, you deceived me. Did you not say Gansu was impoverished? Wu, look. They live in a villa despite being so poor. I want to stay here. I don't care. I want to live here. Princess Chizuan lamented. Upon meeting Empress Changsun, she cried even more bitterly. Wu, Songzhan deceived me. Empress Changsun offered her comfort with a smile. Songzhan Ganbu, bewildered, regretted bringing her along. It was meant to be a serious occasion. Cheng Chumo patted his shoulder, and the two shared a camaraderie akin to long-lost friends as preparations for the feast commenced. Brother Cheng, please release Princess Wencheng. We have a strong connection. Songzhan Ganbu stated bluntly, avoiding any circumlocution. Cheng Chumo regarded him with a knowing smile. How melodious his words sounded, considering he had barely met Princess Wencheng. Was he truly pursuing her? Accompanying Princess Wencheng to Tubo were a multitude of craftsmen. This was a political exchange. Tubo would submit to the Tang dynasty, and in return, the Tang would support Tubo's technological advancement. Such a charming term it was, marriage alliance. But really? Did you comprehend what kind of person Princess Wencheng is? Cheng Chumo countered. Songzhan Ganbu remained unfazed, raising his glass as the best response. Some matters were understood without the need for words. Cheng Chumo raised his glass as well. Bring in Li Daozong, he instructed. Before long, Li Daozong was escorted in. Cheng Chumo looked toward Songzhan Ganbu, finding him quite intriguing. He desires Gansu. Do you think I should eliminate him? Oh, I forgot to mention, he is the biological father of Princess Wencheng, Duke of Jiangxia, Li Daozong, Cheng Chumo stated. Chapter 241. Departing to fetch someone. Songzhan Ganbu's expression remained unchanged, not even glancing at Li Daozong. He was not foolish. Admitting Li Daozong as Princess Wencheng's father would undermine his own stature. In private, he could refer to him as father-in-law, but not in this moment. Brother Cheng, you jest. How could the father of a princess be a duke? The father of a princess must be the reigning emperor, Songzhan Ganbu replied. Indeed, a duke's daughter should be titled as a county princess, not a princess. Princess Wencheng is a true princess, and her father can only be Li Shimin. Cheng Chumo turned his gaze to Li Daozong, whose countenance darkened. He comprehended Cheng Chumo's intentions. This was an implicit dismissal. Even if he were to perish, it mattered not. For Songzhan Ganbu would never acknowledge him as his father-in-law. Cheng Chumo waved his hand, and Li Daozong was led away. Cheng Chumo, having achieved his objective, found it pointless to continue detaining Princess Wen Cheng and consented to let Songzhan Ganbu take her. Before departing, Songzhan Ganbu approached Cheng Chumo, expressing a desire to sell grapes throughout the Tang Empire. Cheng Chumo agreed, noting that Tibetan grapes were renowned for their exquisite taste and affordability. After bidding farewell to Songzhan Ganbu, a letter arrived from Chang'an, penned by Li Tai. He requested Cheng Chumo's assistance, stating that the Tang court was rife with corruption and needed Cheng Chumo's intervention. Cheng Chumo chuckled at the letter's flattering prose and elegant calligraphy, recognizing the ulterior motives behind it. Many officials were discontent with Li Tai's status as crown prince, and with the borders now stable, Li Tai intended to hold those officials accountable. Cheng Chumo decided to respond, agreeing to assist but demanding the position of chief inspector in return. When the special forces hesitated, Cheng Chumo inquired about the issue. They were embarrassed, admitting their inability to write a letter. One of them suggested that Cheng Chumo compose the message instead. With a shake of his head, Cheng Chumo declined and turned to leave. The special forces, scratching their heads, began seeking someone to help them write the letter but found no takers, as no one dared to impersonate a prince's command. Just as their frustration mounted, Li Daozong approached and ultimately offered to assist with the writing. The special forces pretended to read the letter, questioning if it was correct. However, the letter was written backward, and Li Daozong did not correct it, hoping that Cheng Chumo wouldn't notice. The special forces presented the letter to Cheng Chumo, who praised it, knowing that Li Daozong understood his character and would not look too closely. Upon opening the letter, Cheng Chumo's lips curled into a cold smile. It appeared Li Shimin was still plotting against him from his sickbed. Folding the letter, he instructed them to send it. The content was straightforward. The mission had failed, and plans would need to be revised. Cheng Chumo speculated that the mission likely concerned Empress Changsun, prompting him to formulate his next steps. He prepared to explore the surroundings, accompanied by Li Daozong, who had his own usefulness. 3 days later, a colossal carriage rolled along the official road to Hanoi, flanked by special forces, with 2,000 shadow guards in tow. Inside the carriage, Empress Changsun gazed out the window, her face radiating joy, akin to a caged bird yearning for freedom. Having rarely ventured beyond the palace, she finally had the opportunity to roam, yet she wondered how long this freedom would last. Where are we headed? She inquired. To fetch someone. Cheng Chumo replied. As they approached Hanoi, another carriage moved slowly, containing 3 women. Where are the sugar figurines? Sister Xiaozhu. You are not taking me to find that bad man, are you? Princess Danyang asked, her expression wary. Cheng Chumo often bullied her, forcing her into tasks she detested. Xiaozhu felt exasperated, pondering when Danyang would grow up. She had been appeasing her for years. Fear not, we are going to find the elder sister, who will prepare delicious treats, Xiaozhu reassured, while a concubine nearby stifled a laugh. She lacked the patience to soothe Danyang. Recently, Xiaozhu had been busy with work, leaving the concubine to manage the child. Just then, a loud shout startled Danyang, causing her to hide in Xiaozhu's arms. The concubine's expression darkened. They were being robbed. Peeking through the carriage curtain, she saw dozens of bandits, her heart racing. If she were alone, she might have felt brave, but with Danyang and Xiaozhu present, the situation was dire. The bandit leader's eyes lit up upon spotting the concubine, exclaiming, I never expected such beauty to grace my presence. The concubine, sensing danger, smiled seductively. I wish you a safe journey, she said, drawing the curtain. Suddenly, dozens of special forces galloped in, raising a cloud of dust. Without hesitation, they unsheathed their tang sabers and charged at the bandits, knowing that anyone obstructing the carriage was courting death. The bandits scattered in vain, for the special forces left no survivors. Once the carnage ceased, the bandit leader was brought before the carriage. Apologizing for their delay, the special forces bowed. The concubine opened the carriage door, casting a disinterested glance at the bandit leader. What should we do with him, considering he just claimed to be fortunate? She asked. The special forces, without needing further instruction, dragged the bandit leader away for a swift execution. Shall we continue our journey, my lady? The special forces inquired. The concubine gazed into the distance, contemplating a visit to her home, which lay merely 30 miles away. Turning to Xiaozhu, she said, Sister Xiaozhu, I wish to see my family. Of course, we can invite the head of the family as well. He won't object, Xiaozhu replied, confident in her understanding of him. She then turned to Danyang. Your sister from Yan's family has sugar figurines. Would you like to visit? Danyang eagerly nodded, expressing her desire to go. Let us hurry and find that bad man, Princess Danyang urged. The concubine admired Xiaozhu's resourcefulness in managing the situation, realizing she had orchestrated everything beautifully. Though Danyang seemed childish, she was someone Cheng Chumo had gone to great lengths to rescue. Whatever Danyang requested, Cheng Chumo would surely grant. As the special forces escorted the carriage forward, the concubine felt a heaviness in her heart, worrying about her family, so close yet so far. Sister Xiaozhu, I am somewhat anxious, she confessed. Although they were merely her adoptive parents, they had treated her well. Special forces brothers, could you send someone to check on Yan's family? Xiaozhu suggested, opening the curtain. The special forces dared not disobey her. Their pay came from her. They thought it unwise to neglect her commands. Fearing repercussions from Cheng Chimo, "You two go," the Special Forces team leader ordered, dispatching 2 men directly to the concubine's home. The concubine expressed her heartfelt gratitude, saying, "Thank you, Sister Xiaozhu." Xiaozhu replied, "What are you thanking me for? Special Forces only heed their lord." The concubine, with a mischievous smile, whispered in Xiaozhu's ear, "In the future, I shall create opportunities for us to share a bed. When the Lord comes to me, he. Xiaozhu was intrigued. What a splendid idea. Chapter 242, The Special Forces Under Pursuit. The Zhou family. Xiaozhu and her companions met with Cheng Chimo. The trio boarded a grand carriage, astonished by their lord's antics. "I want to go eat sugar figurines. My sister Yinzi has them." "I wish to go now," Princess Danyang exclaimed, shaking Cheng Chimo's arm. "We must go at once, straight to your sister Yinzi's house." Cheng Chimo replied. It had been many years since he last saw Princess Danyang, who remained unchanged, her mind still childlike. The party advanced towards the concubine's residence. After a while, they reached the county town. 2 Special Forces soldiers were being pursued in the city. And upon hearing the news, Cheng Chimo's expression darkened. It was the first time anyone dared to pursue Special Forces. "Go rescue them. Those who dare to hunt Special Forces shall face no mercy," Cheng Chimo commanded. The Special Forces set out to locate their 2 comrades, but searched in vain for a long time. Cheng Chimo dismounted the carriage and looked towards Li Daozong, who appeared haggard, forced to ride his warhorse instead of using the carriage. "There are those pursuing my men, and I cannot act. This matter requires your resolution," Cheng Chimo stated. Li Daozong smiled wryly, having been thoroughly worn down, and nodded in agreement. He led a dozen Special Forces soldiers to the county office. As Li Daozong dismounted and walked inside, the constables attempted to obstruct him. He glared at the Special Forces, declaring, "Anyone who dares disrespect this prince shall receive 100 slaps." The Special Forces charged forward, ready to fight. Li Daozong observed quietly as the cries of pain attracted the county magistrate's attention. Fuming, the magistrate approached but froze at the sight of Li Daozong's imposing demeanor. "May I inquire who you are?" he asked. Li Daozong shot the magistrate a dismissive glance. "Is this the county you govern? Attempting to obstruct this prince? Dare you defy me? Such audacity could lead to rebellion," he retorted. The magistrate nearly fainted at the implication, managing a smile more akin to a grimace. "Your Highness, I beg your pardon. The local constables lack proper decorum, failing to recognize your esteemed presence," the magistrate explained. Li Daozong scoffed. "Is that so? This is no excuse. This concerns the reputation of the prince. It is not solely my concern. Once I return to the capital, I will report this matter truthfully. You may want to contemplate your fate." Hearing the veiled threat, the magistrate understood he must seize this opportunity. "Rest assured, Your Highness, I will ensure your satisfaction," he assured. Satisfied, Li Daozong strode into the office, passing the beaten constable. "A waste of air," he muttered. The magistrate signaled to the other constables, who quickly killed the beaten man. In the main hall, Li Daozong stated, "I have heard that 2 of my subordinates are being pursued in the county. What are you going to do about it?" The magistrate paled, stammering, "Your Highness, I was unaware they were your men. It is all a misunderstanding. I shall order everyone to withdraw immediately." Internally cursing the Zhou family, he realized the gravity of the situation. The Special Forces approached the Zhou family, but before they could meet anyone, they were halted by the family's servants. The servants, eyeing the Special Forces' weapons, attempted to seize them. The Special Forces, accustomed to such treatment, retaliated and killed 2 of the servants. The Zhou family, unperturbed, leveraged their connections with the magistrate to hunt the 2 soldiers throughout the city. "Tell me, why are you pursuing my men? Who gave you the audacity?" Li Daozong demanded. The magistrate stuttered, unable to answer, fearing the Zhou family, a dominant force in the county and allied with the Cui family, a lineage beyond his reach. Li Daozong ceased his inquiries, fully aware of the underlying dynamics. "Bring my men here, and if a single hair is harmed, I will have your life," he warned, resolute in his mission to retrieve the 2 soldiers. After leaving the office, he returned to the carriage. "Where are they?" Cheng Chimo asked. Li Daozong hastily explained. Cheng Chimo chuckled coldly. "Such darkness, and it has only just begun. What about the other areas? The Tang dynasty has only been stable for a few days, and already this occurs. It is time to eliminate a few individuals. You handle the evidence against the magistrate." Li Daozong replied confidently, "Do not underestimate me. I require no evidence. I possess countless reasons to eliminate him." Cheng Chimo secretly admired Li Daozong's competence. Bringing him along was indeed wise. Should complications arise, Li Daozong could shoulder the blame. Consequently, the Special Forces returned unscathed. However, Cheng Chimo was not inclined to let the matter rest, knowing it was the Zhou family behind it. "Yinner, I wish to accompany you home," he declared. The concubine lowered her head, hesitant to meet Cheng Chimo's gaze. For the Zhou family was her maternal clan. "Rest assured, if they are not irredeemably wicked, I will let this matter be," he reassured her. The concubine nodded gently. "I will pose as your servant and have met the lady of the house," she replied. Cheng Chimo's words brought a smile to her face, lifting her spirits as she linked her arm with his on their way to the Zhou residence. Upon arriving at the Zhou family's doorstep, Cheng Chimo followed closely behind the concubine. Due to the recent violence, the guards were armed. Their faces lit up with joy upon spotting the concubine. "The young lady has returned," one of the guards shouted. Soon, the Zhou family members came out to greet her. recognizing her significant status and the benefits she brought to their family through her connection to the Cui family. Your ladyship, we have had the honor of meeting Madame Cui. The head of the Zhou family bowed deeply, eager to curry favor. The mention of Madame Cui delighted the concubine, and she reciprocated the greeting. Father, mother, she called out. Zhou Madame beamed with maternal affection, warmly taking her hand and inquiring after her well-being. The two sons of the Zhou family approached. Sister, they spoke in unison, their eyes glinting with unabashed greed. The concubine felt a surge of disdain. Cheng Chumo observed the scene, enduring it to discern the true nature of the Zhou family. The brothers positioned themselves behind the concubine, pushing Cheng Chumo aside. Mrs. Zhou merely smiled, seemingly indifferent, while the head of the Zhou family appeared to tacitly endorse their behavior. The concubine let out a cold snort, startling everyone present. She felt bitter. They were courting disaster. Her husband was nearby, and even if he were not, such conduct was unacceptable. Though she was an adopted daughter, she was still their sister. I am weary, I shall rest. We can discuss matters later this evening, the concubine declared, beckoning Cheng Chumo to her former chamber. Chapter 243. The true form of Li Ji revealed upon returning to her room. The concubine murmured, "Forgive me, my husband." She felt it was she who should apologize, for her nominal brother had dared to cast such a gaze upon her in front of Cheng Chumo. Could any man tolerate such disrespect? Cheng Chumo felt a disquiet stirring within him as he gazed at the concubine. Has this always been the case? He inquired. The concubine nodded, her heart heavy. She had anticipated joy in returning home, yet the reality proved otherwise. What could her adoptive parents possibly be thinking to allow such behavior? In the study of the Zhou family patriarch, his two sons wore expressions of excitement, while he bore a grim countenance. You are exceedingly brazen. Yenner is now the concubine of the head of the Cui family, and you dare to act so openly? He rebuked, his voice laced with anger. The brothers remained unfazed. Their affection for Yenner was unwavering. The patriarch felt helpless. The banquet was lavishly prepared. The head of the Zhou family raised his cup in a toast. The concubine took a symbolic sip. Cheng Chumo was ushered outside by a throng of servants, who encouraged him to drink. He accepted every drink offered, his gaze never leaving the concubine. Suddenly, she rubbed her forehead, feeling dizzy, and collapsed onto the table. Cheng Chumo erupted in fury, rising to his feet. A wave of dizziness washed over him. You dare! He exclaimed. Special forces surged into the Zhou residence from all directions. Cheng Chumo swallowed a pill, taking a deep breath to alleviate the dizziness. He rushed to shield the concubine. The Zhou brothers charged at him, only to be met with lethal force from the invading soldiers. The patriarch's expression shifted dramatically. He had not anticipated such an outcome. Without needing instruction, the special forces cleared the premises. An unending stream of Zhou family members rushed in, revealing a premeditated conspiracy. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. He could not fathom that the Zhou family could muster such numbers. Where had all these people come from? What kind of family was the Zhou family? There was no time for contemplation. He fed the concubine another pill. Outside, even more people surrounded the Zhou residence, sealing it off completely. Like pouring oil into a lamp, they aimed to eliminate everyone within before storming inside. In a carriage, Empress Changsun felt a wave of nausea, clutching her chest. She suspected she was pregnant, and the child was Cheng Chumo's. Only Wu Shun remained by her side. Before she could speak, a crowd encircled the carriage. Special forces guarded it closely. Li Ji stepped out from the throng, flanked by 8 unscrupulous men. I seek an audience, he declared. Empress Changsun observed him through the glass window. Her expression complex as she turned to Wu Shun. Shunner, do not inform Chumo of my pregnancy, understand? She implored. She was aware of her fate. Remaining by Cheng Chumo's side was no longer an option. Wu Shun grasped the implications. Li Ji had come with a group to abduct Empress Changsun. They understood that no matter their numbers, they could not confront Cheng Chumo directly and thus targeted her instead. Sister, Wu Shun hesitated, unsure of how to express that the news of the Empress's pregnancy should be joyous, yet it had turned into this. What would happen if her husband found out? He would surely eliminate Li Shimin. Li Shimin's current actions in seizing Empress Changsun were tantamount to courting death, while Cheng Chumo afforded Li Shimin royal dignity. Li Shimin disregarded it. Please help me, Empress Changsun requested. Wu Shun assisted her in adjusting her hair and attire. I beseech you, she added. She did not wish to become a pariah of the Tang dynasty. The dynasty belonged to the people, who had suffered greatly over the centuries. The era of prosperity was hard to maintain. Wu Shun wept, nodding in understanding. Empress Changsun smiled gently, reaching out to wipe the corner of his eye. Be good, she said, before stepping down from the carriage. Little did she know when she would again encounter Cheng Chumo, unless Li Shimin met his demise first. Li Ji bowed deeply upon seeing Empress Changsun. I pay my respects, mother, he stated. She cast a fleeting, indifferent glance at him. Her aversion to Li Ji was well-founded. His benevolence was but a facade, and he was adept at masquerading his true self. He had harbored ambitions from a young age. Despite Empress Changsun's repeated counsel to Li Shimin to send him away, Li Shimin had chosen to keep him close. Li Tai could tolerate Empress Changsun's exile, as he still held affection for her and wished not to sever ties completely. Li Ji had always sought to bring Empress Changsun back to the palace, confining her within its walls, thus revealing his Oedipal complex. A carriage approached, and Empress Changsun remained silent as she mounted it, casting one last glance at her favored carriage, regretting that she had not yet enjoyed it enough. Do not move, she commanded, halting the advancing special forces. For their numbers were insufficient to contend with the 8 unscrupulous men. Empress Changsun entered the carriage, securing the curtains. The carriage departed slowly. Li Ji mounted his horse, determined to hinder Qing Chumo for a day and a night. He harbored thoughts of killing Qing Chumo, but knew it was an impossibility. Frustrated, he glared at the carriage, then at the dozen special forces nearby, suppressing his urge to act. In the Chang'an Imperial Palace, Li Shimin sat in a wheelchair, with Li Tai standing behind him. The wheelchair had existed since the Three Kingdoms period, used by Zhuge Liang. With Yuan Tiangan's assistance, Li Shimin had finally detoxified, and his body was gradually recovering. For reasons unknown, he could not stand. If his health improved, his first concern would be the military officials. Li Tai resigned himself to fate. Qing Ke, I never anticipated your capabilities. I am gratified, Li Shimin remarked. Li Tai remained silent. There was nothing left to say, only regret for his own lack of decisiveness. There are laws of the state and family rules. I wish to protect you, but it is beyond my capability. Go to the Zongjing Sea, Li Shimin instructed. The Zongjing Sea was akin to the Zongrenfu of the Ming dynasty, where royal family members were sent when they committed offenses. Power is but an illusion, merely a means to provide a step for the emperor. In name, it is not the emperor's will to act thus. Li Tai scoffed. Initially, I failed to comprehend why my elder brother chose rebellion. Now, I understand. I feel disheartened for my brother and lament the fact that we have such a father. With this thought, Li Tai approached the ancestral temple, a flicker of regret surfacing within him. He should not have contended with his brother. Such strife was unwarranted. His brother saw clearly. Aided by Qing Chumo, he managed to extricate himself unscathed, while he, on the other hand, ended with nothing. He lacked the ruthlessness required. He had countless opportunities to eliminate Li Shimin, yet he refrained, ultimately allowing his conscience to dictate his actions. The consequence was Li Shimin's resurgence while he awaited his demise at the ancestral temple. If given another chance, would you slay me? Li Shimin inquired. Li Tai paused, turning to face him. I have learned your merciless ways, yet I do not wish to emulate your disregard for kin. You shall come to regret this, Li Shimin, he proclaimed. During his regency, he did not harm any of his brothers, not even Li Ji, for whom he arranged a position far from Chang'an, hoping to distance him from the capital. Little did he know that the most ruthless of all was Li Ji, who divulged Qing Chumo's whereabouts to Li Shimin, prompting Li Shimin to orchestrate the return of Empress Changsun. Chapter 244. A mother's resolve. Li Shimin fell silent, his thoughts inscrutable. A court physician approached. Your Majesty, the lady is with child, he reported. Li Shimin continued to conceal the identity of Empress Changsun. Upon learning of her pregnancy, Li Shimin's countenance darkened to an extreme, causing him to expel a mouthful of blood. To the Ganlu Palace, he commanded. Upon arrival, he confronted Empress Changsun. Terminate the pregnancy at once, he bellowed. Empress Changsun glared at him defiantly. A woman may be delicate, but a mother is fierce. Dare to harm my child, and I shall annihilate all your offspring. I will ensure the extinction of the Li clan, she retorted, her voice icy. The two exchanged fierce glares, neither willing to yield. Test me, if you dare, Empress Changsun challenged. Li Shimin, indeed, did not dare. He envisioned a lineage of sovereigns arising from his bloodline, desiring for his descendants to eternally reign over the Tang. You are correct, I do not dare. If Qing Chumo were to learn of my actions, he would surely descend into madness, and he would obliterate my progeny. Li Shimin conceded. You believe this child to be a boon. I am troubled by how to deal with Qing Chumo. Your child has become a liability. Empress Changsun understood Li Shimin's resolve, but felt helpless. A lack of heirs was paramount. She believed Qing Chumo would do anything for the sake of the child. Do as you will, but I warn you, do not touch my child or Li Tai, she declared, before turning her back on him. Li Shimin, disinterested in further dialogue, departed from the Lizing Palace. In the Ganlu Palace, Li Ji was engrossed in reviewing memorials. Father, he greeted, bowing deeply upon Li Shimin's return. Li Shimin nodded, his expression grim. The final words of Empress Changsun weighed heavily on his mind. Although Li Tai was destined to perish, her declaration forced him to reevaluate. Do not harm my child echoed like a mother's fierce cry, hinting at her potential for far more extreme actions. Unlike other consorts, Empress Changsun possessed the means to resist, and her defiance was beyond what Li Shimin could endure. Even if Qing Chumo were to perish, his subordinates would remain loyal to Empress Changsun. Li Shimin was not arrogant enough to underestimate them. They possessed the power to fracture the Tang dynasty, threatening his reign. The only solution lay in consigning both Qing Chumo and Empress Changsun to the grave. The Fufeng Northern Army now boasted 50,000 troops and 200,000 warhorses. The Tianyuan Left Guard maintained control over Tubo. Should the Tianyuan Left Guard negotiate with Tubo to assault the Tang, what would become of the Tubo rebel forces? The Tang was undoubtedly a tempting prize. Songzhan Ganbu would certainly offer assistance, aiming to expel the Tubo rebels alongside the Tianyuan Left Guard. Furthermore, would the Shu army heed Qing Chumo or Empress Changsun? They would, for they followed Qing Chumo. Against these three forces, which Tang army could stand a chance? The forces of Su Dingfang? Unlikely. Perhaps Shui Ringui's troops could, but what of Liao Dong? Let us not forget that the Liaodong army held Cheng Chumo in the highest esteem. With the events surrounding Chibi Heli still fresh in their memory, Shui Rengui would not dare to employ the Liaodong army against Cheng Chumo. That would be tantamount to a death sentence. The Liaodong forces could easily arrest him and surrender to Cheng Chumo. As for Li Jing's troops, he dared not act. Any movement would incite the Fufeng Northern Army to obliterate the Longxili clan. Who else remained? No one. The sole means of dealing with Cheng Chumo was to bury him in the ground. Send word to Cheng Chumo. I demand his monastic retreat, Li Shimin commanded. Li Shimin had unfinished business. He wished to avoid any further influence from Cheng Chumo over the Tang. With Empress Changsun in the palace, he doubted Cheng Chumo would dare to disobey. Cheng Chumo was en route to Chang'an, his anger simmering. Li Shimin was courting death. A great serpent does not perish without due cause. Why did I not allow Li Tai to eliminate him